Chapter 75. Miss, there is no hope. Let's just keep going. The vice captain of the herb collecting team sighed and suggested. Lin Xiaoxue nodded, stood up, and said, Everyone, the red blood forest is extremely dangerous. Accidents are bound to happen. But don't worry, the dead will not die in vain. The Ling family will compensate your family with 100,000 silvers, and the rest of you will get 10,000 each. If something happens to me, it will be the same. Miss, you are such a good person. Then we can rest assured. Yeah, as a warrior, accidents are normal. I'm just worried that my family will lose their support. There were only 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, and the rest were all at the mortal realm. With their strength, even if they hunted demonic beasts every day, it would still take them a few months to earn 100,000 silvers. But that was impossible. No one could stay in a place where demonic beasts gathered every day. Normally, a normal mortal realm warrior would need at least 5 years to earn 100,000 silvers, and that was assuming that they didn't die all the time. After all, if they were unlucky, they might even run into a high-level demonic beast, and they wouldn't even be able to run away. Now, Lin Xiaoxue had compensated the families of the dead with 100,000 silvers, which meant that they did not have to worry about their families anymore. Plus, if they survived, they would also have 10,000 silvers, which boosted their morale even more. This girl has the temperament of a leader. Lin Xiaoxue's actions made Yichen secretly nod. The dead had already died, and the rest of the people still had to continue their journey. As they went deeper, they felt like they had entered another world, completely separated from the busy city. The Red Blood Forest was indeed worthy of its name. Along the way, they had encountered 4 waves of beasts. The first wave was 3 underground demon rats, which were rank 2 beasts. The second wave was a large group of silver ring snakes, which were rank 2 beasts. The third wave was 5 scorpion demon wolves, which were top rank 3 beasts. The fourth wave was a blind mighty rock bear, which was a rank 4 beast. Under the attacks of the third and fourth waves of demonic beasts, no one was killed or even injured. However, the first and second waves of demonic beasts had killed 4 members of the guard team and herb gathering team. If it weren't for Yi Chun and the rest's quick reactions, it wasn't impossible for more than half of the team to die. The underground demon rat was not very powerful. Under normal circumstances, even a mortal realm stage 7 or 8 warrior could easily beat it. But when it was hiding underground, it was a nightmare for mortal realm warriors and even early condensing reality realm warriors. Among the guards, a mortal realm stage 10 warrior was dragged into the deep cave by the underground demon rat without any resistance. His screams lasted for a long time before it stopped. The second and third underground devil rats were unlucky. They targeted Yi Chun and Yuan Xiume. Before they could crawl out of the ground, they were shocked to death by Yi Chun and Yuan Xiume's Jinqi. The other underground devil rat was so scared that it ran away. If the underground devil rats had traumatized everyone, then the second wave of demonic beasts, a large group of silver ring snakes, had terrified them. The silver ring snake was a rank 2 beast. It had an oval head, and its whole body was lined with white and black rings. The white rings were relatively narrow, and its tail was long and thin. Its body length was 3 to 4 meters, and it was as thick as an arm. Its poison was slightly weaker than the dark green poison dragon spider, but once a condensing reality realm warrior was bitten, he or she would die in a short period of time. The silver ring snake's attacks were very strange. From the top of the trees, in the bushes under the fallen leaves, it attacked from all directions. The sound it made was like a storm. It was crazy. At this critical moment, the disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, Wang Feng, used his blizzard sword art. Wherever the icy cold sword chi went, the silver ring snake's speed would be slowed down immediately. Those that were close to it would be cut into pieces. Wang Feng had blocked half of the silver ring snakes all by himself. Yi Chun and Yuan Xiume were not weak either. They both used their martial arts to kill the silver ring snakes from 10 steps away. Unfortunately, the range that they could protect was limited. 1 herb collecting team member and 2 guard team members were bitten by dozens of silver ring snakes. They were poisoned to death immediately and died on the ground. Lin Xiaoshui's face was very pale. It was not only because they were getting closer to the deeper part of the Red Blood Forest where there were more and more demonic beasts, but also because there were too many people that had died and the amount of compensation was too high. It was not that she was stingy, but this time she had spent 100,000 gold and 50 chi healing pellets to hire 5 martial disciples. The total value was almost 250,000 gold, which would be 2.5 million silver. Now, 5 people had died, and the compensation was 500,000 silver, and the ones that survived would each get 10,000 silver. It would be more than 3.5 million silver. For a small family like the Ling family, 5 million silver was already a huge loss. It was easy for them to run out of money, and if they ran out of money, it would usually bankrupt a small family. Biting her lips, Lin Xiaoxue hoped that there would be a good harvest. After walking for another 10 miles, Yichen suddenly felt that the natural yuan qi around them had become a lot denser, and there was a faint mist in the distance. Lin Xiaoxue obviously felt the change in the yuan qi and said excitedly, "We are almost at the herb collecting location. Let's work harder." Oh, everyone from the Ling family could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Along the way, they had been very nervous and did not dare to relax for even a second. They were afraid that if they let their guard down, they would become the prey of the demonic beasts and would never be able to leave the Red Blood Forest and return to their warm homes. Luckily, there was always a reward. After they finished collecting the herbs, it should be a lot easier to go back. After a while, they came to the side of a huge basin. Looking around, the basin was several miles in size, and it was filled with all kinds of herbs such as black ring grass, silver bell grass, gold pearl iron blood grass, star flower, centipede flower, vermilion fruit, black snake fruit, 7-star pearl grass, tricolor date tree, neverwater date tree, and hundreds of different kinds of herbs could be found here and there. Dense spiritual energy gathered in the sky, forming a faint mist that was faintly discernible. It was like a paradise on earth, a paradise in a mist. So many herbs. Everyone in the herb collecting team's eyes lit up and their breathing sped up. These herbs might not be worth much individually, but when there were so many of them, it would be very scary. If they could collect all of them, they would be able to sell for 1 or 2 million silvers, and if they were made into pellets, the price would be 10 times higher. It would not be a problem to make 10 million silvers. Some of the more valuable herbs would be even more expensive than that. For example, the gold pearl iron bloodgrass, which was used to make the chi healing pellet, was a rare herb. One of them could be sold for 1,000 silvers, which was even more expensive than a good weapon. Lin Xiaoxue looked very happy, but she did not let the excitement get to her head. She ordered, 2 of the guard team members will protect one of the herb collecting team members. Split up. If anything happens, don't do anything on your own. Report to me immediately. Yes. Along the way, the guard team members had made a lot of contributions. If it were not for them protecting the herb collecting team members, more people would have died. However, it was all worth it. Besides the money they were supposed to get, each of them could get an extra 10,000 silvers, which was equivalent to a couple of months' income. After arranging their tasks, Lin Xiaoxue also joined the herb collecting team. From time to time, she would let out a scream. Obviously, some of the herbs were very valuable. Yuan Xiumei smiled and said, "This basin's natural yuan qi is very rich. There might be some demonic beasts here. Let's patrol around." Yichen nodded. "You're right. Everyone should take care of their own areas." All right. Since they had been paid, the 5 of them would each take a position and patrol around. Occasionally, they would pick some herbs and put them in their storage rings. Chapter 76. Just as Yuan Xiumei had expected, there were indeed some demonic beasts hiding in the basin. There were fist-sized, deadly bees, 1,000 transformation dragons that could change their skin color freely, King Kong birds that usually hid in the tree trunks and slept, and rock-armored pigs that would go on a rampage when angered. Fortunately, these beasts were not of high levels, and there were not many of them. Only a few of them were injured, and none of them were killed. At this moment, Yichen's pure Junjin Qi had shown its true power. He could attack with Qi swords from hundreds of steps away, which were as powerful as an early condensing reality realm warrior's full power attack. It could easily save people from danger, and it could also multitask from time to time, shooting out a few chi swords to help the herb collecting team members. Swoosh! As the last two deadly bees were shot down by the chi swords, Yi-chun had a thoughtful look on his face. It seemed that the closer they got to the center of the basin, the higher the chance of beasts appearing. Those deadly bees had come from the beehives in the deepest part of the basin. They were only 1/3 bigger than normal deadly bees, and their flying speed was as fast as birds in the sky. Everyone, let's pick the herbs in the outer part of the basin first. Then we can go deeper in. Activating his Yun Qi, Yi-chun's voice traveled miles away, as if it was right next to their ears. Lin Xiaoxue also said, Warrior Yi is right. Let's finish picking the herbs in the outer part first, then gather at my place. Actually, even without Yi-chun's reminder, the herb collecting team members already knew that it was not safe in the deepest part of the basin. But knowing was one thing. Sometimes when they saw some precious herbs not far away, they could not help but walk towards them, completely forgetting about the danger. Yuan Xiume's patrol area was right next to Yi-chun's. Every once in a while, the two would bump into each other. Right then, Yuan Xiume suddenly said, Don't you think the natural Yuan Qi in the basin is too rich? Yes, a little bit. Maybe the herbs in this basin have formed a Yuan Qi cycle, nourishing each other, causing the natural Yuan Qi to be much richer than other places. Yi-chun thought about it, but could not think of any other reason. Yuan Xiume shook her head. It's not the same. Places with herbs do have rich natural Yuan Qi, but I have seen bigger gardens, but they're nowhere close to this place. Yi-chun stared at her. You mean there's something else? I guess so. When we reach the depths, we can investigate it. Yi-chun nodded. If it was really as the other party said, it was necessary to investigate. Perhaps they might find something valuable. Time passed by quickly. By the time most of the herbs in the periphery were harvested, it was already close to noon. Lin Xiaoxue put the baskets of herbs into her storage ring, then took out the food that she had prepared beforehand and handed it out. Miss, how's the harvest? The vice captain of the herb gathering team couldn't help but ask. Lin Xiaoxue smiled and said, Based on my initial estimation, the total value of the herbs we just obtained is more than 300,000 silvers. If we make them into pellets, we can easily earn 3 or 4 million silvers. That's good. The Ling family's main path of development was medicine refinement. If there were more medicinal herbs, they would earn more money. If there were losses, they would also be implicated, and their lives would become difficult. They were bound together for good or ill. When they arrived at where Yi-chun and the group were, Lin Xiaoxue said gratefully, Thank you for protecting us along the way. In the future, if you need any pellets, you can buy them from our Ling family. We will give you a basic price. Actually, these are just polite words. The martial disciples were never short of money. If they were short of anything, they would only be short of a lot of money. However, that was not important. What was most important was to have a good relationship with the martial disciples, because it would help the Ling family a lot in the future. Wang Feng said lightly, Since we have accepted the mission, we will try our best. There is no need to thank us. Lin Xiaoxue was a bit embarrassed. As a woman, she would eventually have to marry someone. She did not think highly of those rich young masters. They seemed to be very powerful, but in fact, they only had the power of their families. If they lost their families, they would be nothing. If she had to marry someone, it would be best to marry a martial disciple. For example, a genius like Wang Feng and Yi-chun. Judging from his appearance and temperament, he must be from a big family. He was not short of money, and he was very powerful. He was the ideal marriage partner for most young girls. However, on the way here, she realized that Wang Feng was very cold and kept people thousands of miles away from him. Yi-chun, on the other hand, seemed to be kind and friendly, but in fact, he was even more ruthless. Yuan Xiume was smart, and she was also a woman, so she could easily understand Lin Xiaoxue's actions. However, she still shook her head. Warriors and normal people would not have much in common, so it would be very difficult for them to get married. In her eyes, Lin Xiaoxue was only a mortal realm warrior after all. If there were no accidents, she would probably be stuck at the condensing reality realm for the rest of her life. When one reached the level of Wang Feng and Yi Chun, the biggest goal in life was to become more powerful. Everything else was secondary. Even when they reached a certain age, if they needed something, they would usually find a woman who was not that different from them, and rarely would they choose a normal person. Putting herself in their shoes, Yuan Shuamei would not fall for a normal person either. If Wang Feng and Yi Chen knew what Yuan Shuamei was thinking, they would probably agree with her. Indeed, for them, no matter how beautiful Lin Xiaoxua was, she was just a normal person. She would not have anything to do with them in the future. Instead of sleeping with her in the future, why would they even bother? Boom! Right at that moment, the ground suddenly started shaking violently, as if something was trying to crawl out of the ground. The next second, a milky white beam of light shot out from the center of the basin. It was about 10 meters thick, and it shot straight up into the sky, creating a huge hole in the clouds. The already rich natural yuan qi above the basin became even more dense, forming clouds of yuan qi fog. It was hazy and invisible, and when one inhaled it, his zhen qi seemed to grow a little bit stronger. Yuan Shumei blurted out, "Yuan qi turned into a pillar. There's a spirit fountain down there." Hearing her, Yi Chun and Wang Feng looked shocked. They did not expect that there would be a spirit fountain down there. Normally, there would be spirit stones where there was a spirit fountain, and spirit stones were a necessity for warriors. They just did not know how big this spirit fountain was. If it was just a small one, then it would not be a big deal, but if it was a big one, then all of the top martial institutions in the Windy Nation would gather there to fight for the ownership of the spirit fountain. 10 miles away from the basin, the three men in black raised their heads at the same time. Yuan Qi turned into a pillar. The spirit fountain has appeared. Should we go back and report to Master Gui Jiang? After all, the top martial institutions would soon know about the appearance of the spirit fountain. No need. Let's use our secret art to cover the smell of the spirit fountain first. Otherwise, even if we report to Master Gui Jiang, it would be too late. You are right. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Shoo! 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 The three of them turned into strange black shadows, flying in the dark and lush forest. Their speed was unbelievably fast, and within a blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 77. Turning around, Yuan Shuamei said to Lin Xiaoxua, "Now, take everyone and go deeper into the cave." All right. Xiaoxua also knew the importance of the spirit fountain, but she did not have the slightest intention of taking it. With the Ling family's power, there was no way they could take a spirit fountain, even if it was the smallest one. If she thought about it, it would only lead to death. Yi Chun, Wang Feng, and Yuan Shuamei took the lead, while the other two sect disciples brought up the rear. The group of more than 50 people headed deeper into the forest. Chi 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 chi. Chi swords shot out, and before the swarm of killer bees could even get close, they were sliced in half in the air and scattered down like rain. Yuan Shuamei praised, "Brother Yi, your cultivation technique should be pure Junjin Qi, right? I've seen a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School use it before, but that person could only emit Qi aura and couldn't reach the level of condensing Qi into a sword. I wonder what level Brother Yi has cultivated it to." Yichen said, "I'm not talented, but I recently broke through to the 7th layer." Oh, Yuan Shuamei and Wang Feng both looked surprised. It was not that easy to train a top-rank mortal realm art to the highest level. Normally, if a person could train a top-rank mortal realm art to the 5th level within 2 years, he would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 6th level would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 7th level would be extremely rare. The deeper they went, the more demonic beasts there were. He had just killed a group of killer bees when 3 more green-armored lizards rushed out. Dripping water pierces stone. As an inner disciple of the Rudra Martial School, and a mid-condensing reality realm martial artist, Yuan Shuamei was naturally not weak. A thin sword appeared in her hand. She slightly shook her wrist, and 3 thin sword lights shot out. Although they were very fast, they looked very slow. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. The three green-armored lizards didn't have time to launch an attack. A sore hole appeared on each of their foreheads. They whimpered and fell to the ground. Great sword art. The Ridra Martial School's water drop sword spell is indeed worthy of its reputation. Wang Feng's cold voice came out with a rare compliment. Yuan Shuamei replied modestly, I've let the two of you see a joke. After walking for another kilometer, the group finally arrived at the center of the basin. The Yuan Qi here was more than twice as dense as outside. The thin mist of Yuan Qi was moist, as if it was going to liquefy into Yuan Qi rain. Unfortunately, because of the impact of the Yuan Qi light pillar, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was chaotic and violent, and could not be guided into the body normally. Forcefully guiding, it would only make one's Yuan Qi unstable, which was not worth it. Otherwise, it would be an excellent place to cultivate. Looking at the scale of the Yuan Qi light pillar, Yuan Shuamei shook her head. So it's a fake spiritual vein. Fake spiritual vein? How can you tell? Yichen didn't quite understand. Wang Feng, who was standing on the side, opened his mouth and said, a fake spirit vein is a spirit vein that hasn't fully formed yet. There can't be spirit stones inside. Even if there are only a few of them, and the quality is far inferior to normal spirit stones. They can only be counted as low-quality spirit stones. However, for some small or medium-sized clans, it is already very good. As for how to tell, it's very simple. Look at the color of the center of the Yuan Qi light pillar. If it's white with yellow, it means it's a small spirit vein. If it's white with orange, it means it's a medium spirit vein. If it's white with red, it means it's a large spirit vein. According to the legends, there's a white with purple top rank spirit vein, but I don't know if it's true or not. Yuan Shuamei was very knowledgeable. Hearing this, she said, there is indeed a top-rank spirit vein. 300 years ago, Su King found a small top-rank spirit vein from the bottom of the sea. It was more than 300 miles long, and the widest part was more than 50 miles. He used his peerless power to pull it out from the bottom of the sea and brought it back to his clan's gate. It made Yuan Qi rain all year round, and the training speed was 100 times faster than the outside world. 300 years, pulling out a top-rank spirit vein. Yuan Qi rain. Yichen secretly clicked his tongue. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors could reverse life and death, and could live for more than 1,000 years, and all of them were extremely powerful, when it was confirmed, he was still very shocked. At the same time, he felt bitter for his lack of imagination. The Yuan Qi light beam lasted for a quarter of an hour before it started to weaken. The huge amount of Yuan Qi was like a fountain spreading out in all directions, nourishing the plants. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the plants in the basin were so abundant. Most of it was because the fake spirit vein would explode every once in a while, nourishing the plants. Seeing that the plants in the center of the basin were even more abundant and precious, Lin Xiaoxue couldn't help but smile. She ordered the herb-collecting team members, hurry, let's get moving. Guards, help out as well. Be careful. Yes. Even without Lin Xiaoxue's order, the herb-collecting team members' eyes had already turned red. They had never seen so many plants in their lives, and they were as abundant as grass. Yichen smiled. Even he was very interested in the plants here. However, since he had accepted the mission, he would not do anything that was against the mission. Of course, there were so many plants here, so it was okay for him to pick some, since there were so many of them. Shoo! 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 No one knew when, but 3 men in black appeared outside of the basin. The Yuan Qi light beam has weakened. Let's go and check it out. Wait, there are a lot of footprints around. There are quite a lot of people. One of the men in black looked around, trying to stop his partner from acting recklessly. The bad-tempered man in black kicked away a startled wild boar and said angrily, "Fuck! Who dares to get in front of us? It should be the herb collecting team from the nearby cities. Look, all the plants around here have been picked up. They are very experienced. There shouldn't be any powerful warriors in the herb collecting team, so we don't have to worry about them." The 3 of them talked for a while, then walked towards the deeper part of the basin along with the bushes that had been pushed aside. Their speed was neither slow nor slow, and they always kept the same pace. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the center of the basin. It really is the herb collecting team. Didn't they see the Yuan Qi light beam? That's impossible. That light beam can be seen from tens of miles away. Could it be a fake spirit vein? Damn, we came for nothing. What do you mean by nothing? Didn't you see that girl? She is quite pretty. We have stayed in the Ghost Corpse Mountain for many years, and we have never been close to women. Now that we have finally become low-level ghost guards, we are qualified to leave the mountain and try our luck. How can we let go of this opportunity? The three of them looked at each other with a strange look on their faces. Shoo! Suddenly, a chi sword flew over from 100 steps away, as fast as a bird. You are looking for death. The bad-tempered man in black did not retreat, and threw a punch right at the chi sword. Boom! The chi sword exploded, and the sound alerted the people nearby. You three, this is not a place for you to stay. Leave now. Yi Chun, Yuan Xiumei, and Wang Feng walked over, coldly staring at the three men in black. The three men in black were good at hiding their auras, but how could they hide from Yi Chun, who had a powerful soul power? They were discovered by him the moment they appeared. Chapter 78. The leading man in black had a scrawny face and a pair of narrow and shiny eyes, which contained all kinds of insidious and cunning. He chuckled and said, "It has always been others avoiding us, not us. Brat, you seem to be a disciple of a martial institution. Put down your storage ring and cut off one of your arms. Only then will you have a chance to live. Did you attack me just now? If you cut off one of your arms, I will spare your life. But your female partner will have to stay. A female condensing reality, realm warrior, should be fun to play with." The man in black with a hideous face looked extremely hideous. "My two fellow disciples might not be nice, but this is the only way for you to live. Anyone who resists will die." The man in black, who seemed to be the calmest of the group, also spoke. On the other side, Ling Xiaoxue and the others had all stopped picking herbs. Their faces were pale. Where did these three people come from? They did not look like living people. Their bodies were emitting an extremely evil and horrifying aura, just like demons. "Miss, these three are not kind people. I am afraid they are in danger." The captain of the guard team was also a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. His eyesight was 10 times better than Lin Xiaoxue and the rest of the guards. With just a glance, he could tell that these men in black were more powerful than him, especially the calmest man in black. He seemed to be at the late condensing reality realm. His Zhen Qi was filled with a strong, evil, and corrosive Qi. Ling Xiaoxue raised her hand. "Let's wait and see." There were 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, plus 5 martial disciples. There were 11 condensing reality realm warriors in total. The leader and vice leader of the guard team were both at the mid-condensing reality realm. Wang Feng, Yuan Xiumei, and the other 2 martial disciples were also at the mid-condensing reality realm. So, there were 4 mid-condensing reality realm warriors on their side. Obviously, they were more powerful than the men in black. If even the martial disciples could not handle the situation, then they would have to attack together. "Ah!" Wang Feng, who had been silent all this time, laughed out loud. Interesting. I have never seen such an arrogant person. Yi Chun, Yuan Xiumei, each pick an opponent, but leave the most powerful one to me. I would like to see if his words about those who resist will die will come true." Yi Chun smiled. "All right, I will take care of the one who looks like a withered tree. Leave the last one to me. Since he wants to play with women, I will let him know how scary women can be." Yuan Xiumei was calm and collected, but her calm tone contained a dense, killing intent. Everyone says that sect disciples are incomparably arrogant, and it seems to be true. Kill. The ferocious-looking black-robed man stomped on the ground and punched out, enveloping the 3 of them in his fist energy. He was arrogant and ferocious. "Your opponent is me." Yuan Xiumei's hand shook, and the snow-silver thin sword burst out a sky-covering sword light, colliding with the opponent's fist energy. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of air explosions rang out incessantly, and the 2 of them quickly moved to another place. Clang! Wang Feng unsheathed his saber and locked onto the aura of the leading man in black. Die! The saber light was like snow, and the saber energy was like a gale. The wind and snow intertwined, making it difficult for the human eye to look directly at them. Wang Feng immediately used the Northern Snow Martial Academy's unique martial art, the Blizzard Sword Art. Compared to Yi Tang, his Blizzard Sword Art was much colder and more violent. Once he used it, the whole world seemed to have disappeared. Only the snow-like sword light could be seen. Corpse King Fist. Explode. The leading man in black was expressionless. Facing the incoming saber light, he directly threw out a punch. The saber light was shattered, and the blizzard disappeared. The man in black was neither happy nor angry. He threw out another punch. Great! Unyielding snow frost. Wang Feng held his saber with both of his hands and threw out a crazy attack. The icy cold saber light condensed on the edge of the saber and sliced through the air with the power of the blizzard. A white light flashed, and Wang Feng's attack missed. The man in black's right hand was on the back of the saber, and his left hand formed a fist and threw out another attack. Bang! Wang Feng, who had collided head-on with the man in black, was pushed back 10 steps, and his body seemed to be staggering. Yi Chen frowned. This man in black is not easy to deal with. But Wang Feng is one of the most powerful inner disciples in the Northern Snow Martial Academy. He should have some special skills. It is still too early to tell who will win. Little brat, looking around is a big taboo for warriors. Die. The evil man in black shook his body and turned into a few beams of black light, attacking Yi Chun from different directions. 10 Ghost Shadow Flash. The black light split open and then doubled in size, turning into 8 of them. It was like a demon dancing in the sky, and the ghostly shadows were everywhere. Anyone would faint just by looking at it. An almost inaudible air-piercing sound came into his ears, but Yi Chun was not surprised at all. He leaned back and disappeared without a trace. Crack! A crack appeared on the ground, and the evil man in black looked surprised. His 10 Ghost Shadow Flash was always successful. Even late condensing reality realm warriors would be confused by it and killed easily. But he had never met a condensing reality realm warrior who had a better movement art than him. What the hell? The evil man in black realized that Yi Chun was not easy to deal with, so he performed his 10 Ghost Shadow Flash again. But unlike before, this time, the black light was covered with a layer of grayish-white chi. Wherever it went, the flowers and trees withered, the ground cracked, and a faint burnt smell spread out. Shoo! The surface of his Yun Chi was showing signs of being corroded. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. He activated his pure Junjin Chi's special protective chi. Countless sharp chi flows combined together, killing the grayish-white chi. Break for me. The black light merged together, and the evil man in black appeared behind Yi Chun. His right claw, which was surrounded by the grayish-white chi, grabbed towards Yi Chun. The next moment, the air exploded violently, and a huge hole was created in the protective chi layer, which almost hurt Yi Chun. Of course, the man in black was not in a good condition either. His palms were pierced by the chi layer, leaving many tiny wounds on them. Blood was oozing out of the wounds, as if he had been stung by a hornet. "I am so angry," the man in black cursed. The other two were doing very well, and he was the only one who was suffering. But it seemed that this brat in front of him was only at the early condensing reality realm. Without touching the ground, Yi Chun lightly stepped on a herb. Zhenqi has a corrosive effect. I guess you are not supposed to show your identity. So what? The ghost corpse Zhenqi has not shown its true power yet. You are dead. I'm going to turn you into a bronze armor corpse. The evil man in black threw out a palm attack. A huge amount of grayish-white Zhenqi swept out, rushing towards Yi Chen's position like a flood. The ground cracked and burned. The herbs were burned into ashes. Wherever the grayish-white Zhenqi went, nothing could survive, and a black path was created. Yi Chen sneered, "You really think I cannot kill you?" His whole body was filled with Zhenqi, and Yi Chen's aura kept increasing. Eventually, he jumped out of the ground and rushed into the sky above the red blood forest. At the same time, he slowly threw out a punch, as if he was pulling 10 horses. It was extremely strenuous. Tyrant Fist, the first movement, Tyrant's Rampage. Deciding to end the battle quickly, Yichen did not hold back anymore. He directly performed the low-rank Earth Realm Fist art that he had recently mastered, the Tyrant Fist. Chapter 79. Chin. As he threw out a punch, the fist power squeezed the air in front of him, making a loud noise. After the corpse ghost genuine chi resisted it for a while, it flowed backward at an even faster speed. Not only that, the corpse ghost genuine chi was compressed from a few meters thick to half a meter in diameter under the power of the Tyrant Fist. It looked like a grayish-white pillar of light. How is this possible? He infused all of my ghost corpse Zhen Qi into his fist power. The man in black opened his eyes wide. His pupils were filled with fear and desperation. Before he could do anything, he was pierced through by the gray light beam. Whoosh! The two halves of the black-clothed man's body began to burn and turn into ashes. Brother Tian, the man in black who was fighting with Wang Feng, could not believe his eyes. Although Tian was not as powerful as him, his fighting power was not to be underestimated. Even he would need hundreds of attacks to defeat him. Plus, there were many condensing reality realm warriors in the Ghost Corpse Mountain, and only the most elite disciples could become low-level ghost guards. He thought that with their power, they would be able to compete with the disciples from the martial institutions, and that these small fries in front of him would be easy to kill. But now, reality had slapped him in the face. He was completely stunned. Wang Feng had been suppressed by the man in black. Seeing that the man in black was in a daze, he knew that this was the only chance he had. He threw out a blade attack, and a bone-chilling blade power swept across the area. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The leader was a late condensing reality realm warrior after all. As soon as he sensed the incoming blade power, he immediately activated his Zhen Qi and created a grayish-white circle of light, blocking the incoming ice-cold and explosive blade power. Corpse King Fist. Die. With bloodshot eyes, the man in black threw out a punch. Wang Feng had already experienced the Corpse King Fist from the man in black. It was extremely powerful and had a corrosive effect, which could destroy Zhen Qi. He did not dare to take it head-on. His feet touched the ground and flew backward. At the same time, the colorful snow blade in his hand did not stop. He threw out 13 blade lights. The man in black did not look at the result. He bent down and punched the ground. Hell, Locust Wave. The ground within a radius of 10 meters started to shake. The next second, a 5-meter thick gray mushroom-shaped air burst out and swallowed Wang Feng. Yichen frowned and was about to help. However, it was no longer necessary. Wang Feng, who was holding the colorful snow blade, cut open the air barrier and stepped out. He slashed down from the sky, followed by a second slash, a third, a fourth. He slashed out 38 times in a row. Each slash stacked on top of each other, forming a huge astral saber. The astral saber extracted all the air in front of it, forming a vacuum without any resistance. This caused the speed of the slashes to increase by more than 3 times. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the astral saber struck where the black-clothed man was. Kacha! A deep scar appeared on the ground, and the flowers and trees nearby fell. Yichen looked very serious. What a horrifying attack. Under this kind of attack, even if his pure jade body-boosting spell had reached the peak of the 3rd level, he still wouldn't be able to block it. Only by reaching the 4th level would he be able to block it. Facing this attack, the only thing he could do was to not get hit. The inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were indeed not easy to deal with. Their fighting abilities were not any weaker than the Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. In some sense, they might even be stronger. The black-clothed man's body was completely destroyed. The astral saber was way too fast, and the black-clothed man was not as fast as the one killed by Yichen. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Wang Feng's face turned pale. He knelt down on one knee. Stopping Yichen from coming over, Wang Feng said, "I am fine. This is the side effect of forcefully performing the vacuum killing blade. My qi and blood are flowing backwards. You should go check on Yuan Xuemei." Vacuum killing blade. What a powerful name. Yichen nodded and walked to the other place where the battle was taking place. Spring rain. In the thick grass, Yuan Shuamei's feet did not touch the ground. She looked like she was weightless. The thin silver sword in her hand was shaking at an extremely fast speed. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to see it with naked eyes. Only beams of sword light could be seen flying out like a light rain in the spring. Chi 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 chi. The grass under the black-clothed man's feet was full of holes, as if he had just experienced a locust disaster. He had to put up a defensive layer to block the continuous sword lights. Summer rain, seeing that the black-clothed man had blocked the first wave of sword lights, Yuan Shuamei looked normal. The sword aura in her hand changed from gentle to violent and impatient. Impossible. How could I be suppressed? Being under the cover of the sword lights, the black-clothed man knew better than anyone else how horrifying the sword lights were. If it was just a spring rain before, then it was a summer storm now. It kept pouring down, washing his defensive layer. Autumn rain and thunder. Without giving the black-clothed man any chance, Yuan Shuamei's sword aura changed again. The sword lights contained the poetic perspective of thunder and lightning. It was like a thunderstorm in the autumn, stunning and desolate. Crack! The defensive layer cracked open. The black-clothed man screamed in fear. I give up. I will leave right now. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Yichen shook his head. Compared to the previous two, this black-clothed man looked so miserable, which did not match his face at all. However, this also reflected the complexity of people's hearts. No one's appearance could truly reveal their inner qualities. There were those who appeared forthright on the surface, but were dark on the inside. There were those who were refined, but were secretly licentious and shameless. There were also those who appeared to be sanctimonious, but were actually thieves and prostitutes. They were more hateful than the so-called villains. Yuan Shuamei had already planned to kill him. How could she let this black-clothed man go? The sword aura in her hand became even stronger. The violent thunder sword light almost drowned the black-clothed man in it. Crack, 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 crack. More and more cracks appeared on the black-clothed man's defensive layer. Finally, it could not bear the attack anymore and collapsed. The black-clothed man who had lost his defense was instantly pierced through by the sword light, turning into a hornet's nest. Phew! Yuan Shuamei let out a mouthful of turbid air. Her body sank, and her feet landed on the ground. Her forehead was covered in sweat, reflecting a crystal-clear light. Yichen smiled and said, "The Rudra Martial School's four-season sword art is amazing. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the most powerful winter sword art. The four-season sword art is an Earth Realm sword art. How could I learn it? This is only the four seasons rain sword art that was derived from the four-season sword art. It is far from the real four-season sword art. It is not even worth mentioning. On the other hand, Brother Ye's fist art is so earth-shattering. It can actually merge with the opponent's chi and attack back, killing them with only one attack." Yuan Shuamei looked at Yichen with a smile. Yichen shook his head and forced a smile. It was not easy to gain the upper hand with words from Yuan Shuamei. On the Ling family's side, everyone suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Their palms, which were holding their weapons, were full of sweat. They were ready to charge at any time. Although some of them would be injured or killed, they did not care about that. However, martial school disciples were indeed martial school disciples. Although they did not seem to have the upper hand on the surface, when they really fought with their lives on the line, they used all kinds of ace attacks and killed the three black-clothed men. Compared to them, the fighting power of these people was miles behind. They did not even have the qualification to look at their backs. Chapter 80. All right, let's keep going. It's getting late. We have to get back before dusk. Lin Xiaoxue said as she brushed the hair off her forehead. Miss, you're right. I do not dare to spend the night in the Red Blood Forest. I am afraid that I will not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Indeed, the night in the Red Blood Forest is 10 times scarier than the day. Hurry, everyone, hurry. Thinking about the horrors of the Red Blood Forest, everyone's expression changed, including the 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the team. Yuan Shuamei, said to Yi Chun, "We will have to rely on Brother Yi when we get back. I have just performed the spring rainsword art, the summer rainsword art, and the autumn rainsword art in a row. My meridians have been damaged. I am afraid I can only use 70 to 80% of my power." She then looked at Wang Feng, who was sitting with his legs crossed, and continued, "Wang Feng's vacuum killing blade is very aggressive. His side effects are even worse than mine." Yichen nodded and said, "Don't worry, I am here." The first movement of the Tyrant Fist art was not weaker than the vacuum killing blade art, and it had the same side effects. Fortunately, Yi Chen's body was extremely powerful. His chi power had already reached 15,000 pounds, which was the limit of his physical strength. In the future, it would be 10 times more difficult to increase his chi power, unless he reached the 4th or 5th stage of his pure jade body boosting spell. The man in black did not have a storage ring on him, but Yi Chen did not care. He found a clean place and sat down with his legs crossed. He took out a low-rank soul stone and started to recover his Jun Qi. Time passed quickly, and the sun was slowly setting. Although she was reluctant to leave, Lin Xiaoxue still decided to leave the Red Blood Forest immediately. The journey back was not smooth, but the number of beasts had obviously decreased. Perhaps the true horrors of the Red Blood Forest would only be revealed at night. The moment everyone walked out of the Red Blood Forest, the sky was completely dark. A waning moon hung high in the sky, lonely and bleak. Woo woo woo. Vaguely, everyone could hear the sound of a woman crying in the depths of the forest. Their backs suddenly went numb, and they started sweating profusely. Luckily, we came out early. This Red Blood Forest is too scary. No one has ever been to the deepest part of it. I heard that at night, there will be ghosts in the forest. The vice captain of the team wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The others felt the same way. After exiting the forest, the rest of the journey was easy. In less than 2 hours, everyone returned to the bustling Blackrock City. Yichen stayed at the Ling residence for one night. The next morning, Yuan Xiumei and Wang Feng parted ways and returned to their respective sections. Time passed quickly for a martial artist. 1 month passed. During this period, Yi Chun was like the other inner court disciples. He spent 2 days cultivating, 3 days accepting tasks, and in the middle, he had to hurry and find his way. It might look boring, but it was not. Every time he went to a new place, Yi Chun would learn about the customs of that place. There were all kinds of quests. Not all of them were fighting and killing. Occasionally, there would be a letter delivery mission. A week ago, Yi Chun had delivered a letter to the Windy Nation's great general Li Zhenghao, who had also rewarded him with a military crossbow, which could break the protective Jinqi of a normal condensing reality realm warrior with one shot. On this day, Yi Chun had just returned from a 1-star gray rank mission. On the way up the mountain, some inner court disciples were not in a hurry to return to the floating cloud palace. Instead, they were walking slower and slower, discussing something important. Do you know what happened in the Emerald Martial Palace? What could happen in the Emerald Martial Palace? Don't tell me it was destroyed like the evil Earth Martial School. It's not possible. All of the top 5 martial institutions have some powerful martial artists. Even the powerful martial artist who destroyed the evil Earth Martial School would not dare to attack us. Not destroyed, but it has something to do with the young generation. Brother Fong, you like to keep us guessing again. What is it? Just say it. Young Master Emerald has reached the clasping Yuan realm. Although the voice was not loud, the inner court disciples who were walking up the mountain heard it clearly. What? Young Master Emerald has reached the clasping Yuan realm? Is it true? The first big hurdle for a martial artist is to break through from the condensing reality realm to the clasping Yuan realm. If you're not talented enough, you will not be able to make the breakthrough within 3 to 5 years. If you're not talented enough, you might be stuck at the peak of the late condensing reality realm for the rest of your life. That's right. This young Master Emerald had reached the peak of the late condensing reality realm a year ago. How do you make the breakthrough so quickly? Doesn't that make him the most powerful martial artist among the young generation in the Windy Nation? Young Master Duanmu and young Master North Snow have already been surpassed by him. The inner court disciple, called brother Fong said, "This time, my mission is not far from the Emerald Martial Palace. I heard that the leader of the Emerald Martial Palace, Zhuang Qingxian, will come out as closed-door training and hold a celebration party for young Master Emerald. He has also invited all the top martial institutions." Wow, it seems to be true. This young Master Emerald is indeed talented. A few years ago, there were 3 young masters who could compete with him. Unfortunately, our second brother from the Sky Cloud Martial School was not strong enough and was surpassed by the other 3. Now, it is young Master North Snow and young Master Duanmu's turn. Hearing this news, Yichen was also very surprised. Although the peak of the late condensing reality realm was only 1 step away from the clasping Yuan realm, without great talent and perseverance, it would be very difficult to make the breakthrough. However, once a martial artist reached the clasping Yuan realm, he would be able to fly as fast as a bird in the sky. If he had enough Zhen Qi, he would be able to travel 10,000 miles in just 1 day. Every single move he made would have a destructive power. Killing a condensing reality realm martial artist would be as easy as killing a chicken or a monkey. In other words, if young Master Emerald wanted to kill young Master Duanmu and young Master North Snow, he would only need a few moves. But to kill young Master Cold Mountain from the Sky Cloud Martial School, he would only need 1 move. He would become the real number 1 martial artist among the young generation of the Windy Nation, and no one would be able to compete with him. At this time, the disciple continued, "Besides this, the Emerald Martial Palace has gained another core disciple. I heard that her name is Ji Xuan. This girl is extremely talented. She reached the late condensing reality realm at the age of 16. After learning the Earth realm martial arts of the Emerald Martial Palace, she defeated all the core disciples and became one of the best among the core disciples. Some people secretly called her Young Master Emerald, Palm End, Lu Wuxiang, and Stone Man, Shi Patian as the 4 kings of the Emerald Martial Palace's young generation. Ji Xuan, is she a disciple of the Ji family? I know her. She has the title of leaving no trace on the snow in the martial world. Her movement art is very good. Ji Xuan. Hearing this, Yi Chen's expression didn't change much. However, it gave him a lot of pressure. He was still an early condensing reality realm martial artist. Although he could defeat geniuses with higher cultivation levels, he was not sure if he could defeat a late condensing reality realm martial artist, not to mention a late condensing reality realm martial artist. I have to improve my cultivation as soon as possible. Yi Chen thought to himself, then sped up his pace. Chapter 81. The so-called peak of the early condensing reality realm and the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm were actually stuck at the breakthrough point, unable to break through. After 10 days of hard training, Yi Chen had finally reached the peak of the early condensing reality realm. He was only 1 step away from the mid-condensing reality realm. However, he did not want to be stuck at this point. Once he lost his motivation, he would have to waste another month or 2. He could not wait any longer. Break through with all your might. While enduring the pain in his meridians, Yi Chen operated his pure Junjin Qi with all his might, continuously making a large circle. At the same time, he held a low-rank soul stone in each of his hands. In case he ran out of Jin Qi, he could use the soul stones to break through. The vast and boundless night sky was dotted with stars, and a bright moon hung in the middle of it, shining brightly. A gentle breeze was blowing. The leaves on the treetops were rustling. After a moment of silence, with the courtyard as the center, the Qi of heaven and earth within a radius of 1,000 feet suddenly began to move, like the changing of the wind and clouds, or the coming of storm. Slowly, slowly, the Qi of heaven and earth revolved and contracted around the entire courtyard, gradually sinking down, shaped like a giant funnel. Who? The drastic change of the Yuan Qi caused a violent airflow. The gentle breeze suddenly turned into a hurricane. The sand and stones on the ground were flying everywhere. Someone is breaking through. Ever since he had been promoted to an inner disciple, Yi Chen had moved to an inner disciple's yard on the mountainside, where all the other inner disciples with the same status lived. The distance between them was less than 10 feet, Of course, this kind of change could not be hidden from the others. The yuan qi funnel became smaller and smaller. At last, it drilled into the house, shattering the roof. On the bed, Yi Chen's face was alternating between red and white. Streams of sharp qi were moving around his body, and from time to time, he lost control and shot thousands of holes into the furniture. Success or failure, it all depends on this break. Suddenly, Yi Chen's face turned ferocious. He did not care about the side effects of his weak Jin qi. He sucked in a huge amount of natural yuan qi in his body, giving people the illusion that he was a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Pop! Almost at the same time, a ball of transparent qi spread out. All the furniture and windows were shattered. A few big cracks appeared on the wall, and the cracks spread out like a creeper. After dispersing the excess heaven and earth yuan qi, Yi Chen felt the tearing pain lessen a lot, and the real qi whirlpool in his dantian showed faint signs of strengthening. This was a crucial moment to test one's willpower and talent. Those who did not have enough willpower would likely lose their drive and fall short of success, stopping at the peak of the early stage. Those who did not have enough talent would have a great force suppressing their realm. No matter how arrogant they would not be able to take another step forward. Yi Chen had perseverance, and he didn't lack talent either. What he lacked now was to take that step. Jinshi, great circulatory cycle, 180 times, 220 laps, 250 rounds. Yi Chen had surpassed his previous limit. His Jinshi cycle had reached an astonishing 250 revolutions, 10 more than the previous record. This was not the end. Yi Chen used his powerful soul force to control his Jin qi so that it would not scatter and fail at the last step. Then, he sped up his great circulatory cycle. When it reached the 280th cycle, the heaven and earth yuan qi in his body was completely refined into true energy, and like rivers flowing into the sea, it shrunk into his dantian and fused into his true energy vortex. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Zhenqi vortex expanded 3 times in a row and finally stabilized. Only then did Yi Chen open his eyes. A bright light flashed in the room, bringing up beams of illusory lightning. He had truly achieved the stage of creating lightning out of thin air. Reaching the peak of the early condensing reality realm in 10 days, and then reaching the mid-condensing reality realm in one go. It was really difficult. Yi Chen let out a breath slowly, and a smile appeared on his face. Reaching the mid-condensing reality realm was not a simple breakthrough. When he was only at the early condensing reality realm, he was able to defeat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. Now that he had reached the mid-condensing reality realm, even if that bloodthirsty monster came looking for him, he would not be afraid anymore, and he would definitely be able to kill him. Of course, if he were to fight against the core disciples of those martial institutions, it would still be a bit difficult. After all, being able to become a core disciple meant that he was one of the most powerful late condensing reality realm martial artists. Some of them had even trained low-rank Earth realm martial arts and martial arts, which meant that they were much more powerful than the current Yi Chen. However, even if he could not defeat a core disciple, Yi Chen was confident that he could escape unharmed. Give me some more time. Once I reach the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm, I'll be able to compete with the core disciples. Yi Chen thought to himself. The news that young Master Emerald had become a clasping Yuan realm martial artist had spread in the Sky Cloud Martial School 10 days ago. Whenever people had free time, they would talk about it. For other people, it might be a topic of gossip, but for Hidden Fragrance or Zhu Mei and Child Hanzhan Luo Hanzhan, it was a huge pressure that almost crushed them and made them unable to breathe. At their level of cultivation, no one would be willing to be under someone else. They would train hard every day and strive to become one of the most powerful young martial artists in the world. But now, young Master Emerald had reached the clasping Yuan realm before them, which meant that he had completely left them behind and became the leader of the younger generation. The leader of the younger generation of the Windy Nation. What kind of glory was that? What was happening in the outside world had nothing to do with Yi Chen. He was busy entertaining Wu Zoming. Wu Zoming rarely came to visit Yi Chen, but when he saw Yi Chun, he couldn't help but gasp in shock. "You have reached the mid-condensing reality realm?" Yi Chun said, "I just made the breakthrough. My Zhen Qi is not stable yet. I can't help but admire you. A year ago, you were still at the mortal realm stage 6, but now you have already surpassed me, and even surpassed Zhang Haoren." Zhang Haoren was very talented, but he had not reached the mid-condensing reality realm yet. He was still at the peak of the early condensing reality realm. Yi Chun knew all of this. "All right, you should have heard about the news that young Master Emerald had reached the clasping yuan realm, right? Wow, he is indeed one of the top 4 childs of the Windy Nation. He was already on the verge of becoming the leader of the top 4 child a year ago, and just as I expected, he was the first one to make the breakthrough," Wu Zongming said with a sigh. Pouring a cup of tea for Wu Zongming, Yi Chun said, "If the others can turn the pressure into motivation, it is not impossible for them to catch up with young Master Emerald. It is difficult." Wu Zongming shook his head, picked up the teacup, and took a sip, then smiled bitterly and said, "These things are too far away from us. It is useless to talk about it. This time, I came to ask you if you want to go to the Northwest Auction House." Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. "You mean one of the top 5 auction houses in the Windy Nation?" Wu Zongming nodded. "Yes, the Northwest Auction House is located in the Forgotten City. It has existed for hundreds of years. It has a longer history than most of the big martial institutions. As one of the top 5 auction houses, the Northwest Auction House's auction items are all rare and precious, many of which are extremely beneficial to the warriors." "You must have heard some news, right?" Yi Chun said. "Hee. The Northwest Auction House has a small auction every 6 months and a big auction every 3 years. Although it is a small auction this time, there are a lot of rare items. It is said that there are 3 Zhen Qi pellets among them." Hearing this, Yi Chun's interest was piqued. The Zhen Qi pellet was an extremely precious pellet. It had a 50% chance of helping a condensing reality realm warrior to advance to the next level. It was equivalent to an enhanced version of the condensing reality pellet. Even though he had just made the breakthrough and did not need the help of external items. But if the auction house had this kind of precious pellet, he might find some other interesting things. "All right, let's go." Yi Chun agreed. Chapter 82. Every disciple of the martial school had to complete a mission within a month. Even the core disciples were no exception, unless they were approved by the higher-ups. Fortunately, both Yi Chun and Wu Zongming had completed more than one mission this month, so they did not have to worry about not having enough time. They would be fine even if they came back next month. The second day, at the foot of the mountain, the two of them rode on their dark brown horses and galloped towards the northwest direction. The journey to the Forgotten City was 28,000 miles long. On the way, they had to pass through 4 cities, 2 mountains, and a large plain. The cities were not dangerous, and they could replenish their rations and eat some food. However, the mountains and the plain were never safe places. There were countless demonic beasts, horse gangs, and robbers, and there were countless dark martial artists. In the eyes of the bandits, the weaker martial artists were fat sheep, and there was nothing wrong with killing them. The sky was blue and clear, and there were a few white clouds floating in the sky. On the northwest plain, the cool wind carried a strong smell of blood. Hee, these horse gangs must have thought of us as fat sheep. Wu Zongming used a black cloth to wipe the blood off his long knife and grinned. Sitting on the horse, Yi Chun looked down at the dead bodies of the horse gangs on the ground. Among the dozens of horse gangs, 2/5 of them had been cut in half, and the rest of them had their heads blown off. They died a horrible death, and the blood and flesh stained the grass red. There were only 2 of us, and we were riding on dark brown horses. These horse gangs probably couldn't resist the temptation and thought of us as chicks. You don't say after knowing that we were the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. One guy wanted to run away. It seems like the disciples of the big martial schools are really scary, and they can do whatever they want. However, the dark martial artists are not included in this. They really think of the disciples of the martial schools as fat sheep. Yi Chun nodded. The number of martial artists in the underworld was much less than that of bandits and horse bandits. However, every martial artist in the underworld was an abnormally valiant existence. They were able to fight against the disciples of the big sections. There were some lucky ones among them who had inherited the true teachings of their deceased seniors. In terms of martial skills, they were not at a disadvantage at all. In addition, they had been fighting all year round. Their killing intent could scare ordinary people to death. In terms of momentum, they were much stronger. Before, they had met a mid-condensing reality realm warrior in the outskirts of the Azure Mountain, who had knocked Wu Zoming off his horse with only one spear attack. If he had thrown out a second spear attack, Wu Zoming would have been dead for sure. Yichen would not let that happen, so he killed him with one punch. I've heard that the Forgotten City is the largest city in the Northwest. It has a length and width of 50 miles, and there are more than 10 million people living there. I wonder what kind of scene it is, Wu Zoming said as he sat back on his horse and looked into the distance. Hearing him, Yi Chun thought of the world he came from. In the ancient times, a city that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people was already considered not bad. It was nothing compared to the true spirit continent. From this point of view, it could be seen how vast the true spirit continent was. It was not something that could be imagined. Pulling the reins, the two of them squeezed the horse's abdomen with their legs and galloped forward. In the evening, the sun was setting. The sunset glow in the west and the great plain behind them contrasted with each other, creating a beautiful and spectacular scene. Two teenagers riding on dark brown horses, one on the left and the other on the right, followed the surging crowd and arrived outside of a huge city. These two people were indeed Yi Chun and Wu Zoming. They had spent 1 day and 2 nights to finally cross the Northwest Plain and arrive at their destination, the Forgotten City. Behind the crowd, Yi Chun raised his head. The first thing he saw were the 3 golden characters on the city gate. Forgotten City, letting out a heavy breath. Although Yi Chun had mentally prepared himself, such a huge city still surprised him. It was at least 5 to 6 times bigger than the Windy City near the Sky Cloud Martial School. The city gate was 33 meters tall, and the city wall was 66 meters tall. On top of the city wall, there were groups of fully armed soldiers patrolling back and forth with expressionless faces. Here we are. Wu Zoming looked a little tired. Yeah, let's go in. Seeing that it was almost their turn, Yi Chun jumped off the horse. Leading the horse, the two of them walked to the city gate. There were 2 rows of armored soldiers standing in front of the city gate. Each of them looked very energetic with their temples bulging. Obviously, they were Mortal Realm Stage 5 or 6 warriors. The leader of the soldiers had even reached Mortal Realm Stage 10, not far from the condensing reality realm. 1 silver per person. If you want to sneak in, you'll have to ask the blade in my hand first. The leader of the soldiers was not in charge of collecting the entrance fee. He was staring at the people entering the city. Wu Zoming curled his lips. 1 silver? So expensive. The Windy City only costs 50 copper. Yi Chun laughed. You still care about this small amount of money. Of course I don't care about this small amount of money, but it is a lot for the commoners. Forgotten City is the biggest city in the Northwest. It is not a good thing to collect a small entrance fee. Everyone wants to go in, and it will be crowded to death. In this aspect, Yi Chun had more foresight than Wu Zoming. That's true. After paying the entrance fee, the two of them entered the city smoothly. The Forgotten City was indeed the biggest city in the Northwest. As soon as they entered, they were completely shocked. In front of them was a street that was wide enough for dozens of horses to run side by side. The shops on both sides were extremely luxurious, as if they were built with gold. In the distance, there were many tall wooden buildings rising from the ground. Just like Luo City, the Forgotten City also had a tall tower located in the center of the city. It's really incredible. Yi Chun shook his head. If the Forgotten City was full of modern high-rise buildings, he would not be so surprised. After all, everything in front of him was built by human beings, without the assistance of any machines. Moreover, in terms of luxury, the Forgotten City could not compete with the modern cities. West of the city, Shilai Restaurant. In the private room named Chun, Yi Chun and Wu Zoming ordered a table of dishes and ate with relish. The business of this restaurant is so good. Except for the private rooms, the outside is full, but the food is not bad. It is 100 times better than dry food. I'm going to get sick from eating so much. Warriors all had a large appetite. In just a short while, Wu Zoming had already eaten 3 servings of food. Outside the private room, the waiter came in with another plate of dishes. You too, this dragon and phoenix bringing prosperity is a gift from our restaurant. Please enjoy. There were 16 private rooms in the Shilai restaurant, which were named Sun, Moon, and Stars respectively. Each code had 4 private rooms, and only the private rooms had precious dishes as gifts. People outside had to pay for them. Yichin asked, "May I ask when the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start?" The waiter's heart trembled. Those who could participate in the auction were all rich. These two must be the young masters of some big family with extraordinary backgrounds. He immediately said enthusiastically, "Two masters, the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start in 2 days. You can stay in the Shilai restaurant." So there are still 2 days. Then wait. This is a tip for you. Yi Chun threw a piece of silver to the waiter. It was worth 10 taels. "Thank you, two masters. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Go do your thing." Not long after the waiter left, an angry voice came from outside the private room. "What? All the private rooms are full. Are you kidding me? Do I, Tang Manlu, have to sit and eat with those lowly people? Master Tang, all the private rooms are full. Why don't you wait a little longer? I think some of the masters should have finished eating already." The waiter was terrified. "I'll give you 10 minutes to clear out a private room. Otherwise, I will hold you responsible." Chapter 83. The waiter did not know what to do. Those who could enter the private rooms were all influential people, and they could not be messed with easily. However, this Tang Manlu in front of him was not an ordinary person either. He was one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City, and his family was only second to the top 8 families. "Please wait. I will ask the manager." The waiter did not dare to make the decision, so he ran downstairs. On the ground, the well-dressed young man sneered and said to the beautiful lady next to him, "I heard that there are many treasures in this auction. I am afraid a lot of people have heard about it." The beautiful lady said, "My Purple Sun Martial School's second disciple, Ouyang Ming, will be here." "Oh, Ouyang Ming is here too." Tang Manla's expression changed slightly. Ouyang Ming, who had the title of Little Godly Legs, was also one of the top 8 warriors. However, he was the leader of the 8 warriors, and his power was immeasurable. He was ranked second among the young generation of the Windy Nation. Indeed, other than that, the North Snow Quick Blade Lynch from the North Snow Martial Academy will be here as well. I heard that he is here for a great blade. Tang Manlu did not have the arrogant aura that he had before. Compared to the 2 people mentioned by the young man, he was nothing. Soon, the manager, who was over 60 years old, hurriedly ran over. "Io, isn't this Master Tang? What brings you here?" Tang Manlu said impatiently. "Manager, you. Hurry up and prepare a private room for me. You will get the money. Don't tell me you don't have it." "That is easy. Leave it to me. Then it will be easy." Pulling the waiter aside, the manager said in a low voice, "Li Lin, who are the people in the 16 private rooms? Tell me." The waiter nodded and bowed. "The first private room is for the mayor's son. The second one is for the leader of the Luo family. And the third one, do you have a brain? Who told you to call out the owner of the Sun VIP room? They are all important people, and you can't touch them. Call them out from the Star VIP room." The manager slapped the waiter's head and berated him. Yes. The waiter wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, "The one in the Star room is a middle-aged man. He is very powerful. He should be a clasping Yuan realm warrior. The one in the Star room is... The one in the Chin room is 2 teenagers. I heard that they are here for the auction." The shopkeeper was silent. It sounded like everyone was of high status, but the Shilai restaurant was located in the Forgotten City. Naturally, they had to satisfy the local bigwigs first. Even if the 2 youngsters with the number 4 Chun were from a big family, it would not affect their business. Moreover, Tang Manla's Tang family was there to support them. Go and invite the guest of Chin number 4 out. Let them go to the restaurant a few streets away. As for the previous dishes and wine, give them free of charge. After careful consideration, the manager gave the order. The waiter hesitated. But what? Hurry up. Do you want me to fire you? Don't forget that there are many people who want to be waiters in the Shilai restaurant. They are waiting in line. I'll go. Please don't fire me. The waiter hurriedly ran to the fourth private room with the character Chen. Pushing open the door of the room, the waiter rubbed his hands and said in a low voice, "Masters, I hope you can give this room to the guests outside. The dishes and wine that you have eaten before are all free of charge." Wu Zoming was eating fish. Hearing this, he stared at the waiter and said, "We are not guests? As for the dishes and wine, what a joke. Yi Chun, can't we afford it?" Yi Chun sneered. "There are so many restaurants in the Forgotten City. They will find a place to eat." The shopkeeper said that you should. The waiter knew that he had said something wrong and hurriedly covered his mouth. "Shopkeeper." Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. Being scared by Yi Chen's eyes, the waiter stammered and couldn't say a word. He had already cursed Tang Manlu in his heart. Why did he come at such a time and make things difficult for me? I can quit. No, the Shilai restaurant pays me well. I can't quit. Outside the room, Tang Manlu was getting impatient and scolded. "Shopkeeper, is it not done yet?" "Almost done. I will go and have a look." They hurriedly came to the number 4 private room, and the innkeeper ordered them to leave. "Sirs, I'm really sorry, but this private room has already been reserved. You should go to another restaurant." Bang! Wu Zoming smashed his chopsticks on the table. "Are you bullying us because we are foreigners? I will be sitting here today. Who dares to kick us out?" The shopkeeper braced himself. "I advise you to go somewhere else. You can't afford to offend the masters outside." "Who is it that we can't afford to offend? Let him come in and show us." "Well, you two should leave." Since he had already done this, the shopkeeper did not expect to be safe. He could only offend one of them. "How dare you?" Wu Zoming roared. At this moment, the door opened again. Tang Manlu and the beautiful lady walked in. They were already impatient and were ready to kick them out. Tang Manlu glanced at them and saw that one of them was at the early condensing reality realm and the other was at the mid-condensing reality realm. He said disdainfully, "You two, please. Don't embarrass yourselves." Yichen also looked at him and said, "You don't have the ability to do that." Tang Manlu sneered, "Don't talk big. The Forgotten City is not like other places. Don't think that just because you are the king of your own territory, you can do whatever you want here. I, Tang Manlu, will make my words clear. No matter if you're a dragon or a tiger, you will have to bow down to me. Otherwise, don't say I didn't warn you." "Oh, Tang Manlu, I have never heard of this name. I would like to see how you're going to make me bow down to you." Standing up, Yichen stared at him. It seemed like he was going to fight if there was any disagreement. The beautiful lady shook her head. This person was too arrogant. It seemed like he had never been bullied at home. He was just going against Tang Manlu. He was going to suffer a bit later. The shopkeeper saw that the situation was not good. If these people started fighting, it would ruin the reputation of the restaurant. He immediately said to Yi Chun, "Sir, Master Tang Manlu is one of the 8 heroes of our happy city. The Tang family is also one of the top families in the city. They are not people you can mess with. Listen to my advice and leave immediately. Otherwise, it would be a small matter if you get hurt, but losing face is a big matter." Wu Zoming laughed out loud. Tang Manlu had already activated his Zhenqi and said coldly, "What are you laughing at? Trying to compare your family background with Yichen? You really don't know what's good for you. Even my Wu family does not dare to compare with Yichen's family." The manager heard something wrong. "I wonder which family this young master is from." Wu Zoming said loudly, "Listen carefully. My companion is the son of the leader of the Yi family, one of the top 8 families. He is also a genius of our Sky Cloud Martial School. He is one of the top figures in the entire Windy Nation. The Tang family is not worth mentioning. This young master is the son of the leader of the Yi family." The manager felt a little dizzy. He had really poked a hornet's nest. As one of the top 8 families, the Yi family also had a stronghold in the Forgotten City. They were very powerful, and the Western Arrival restaurant could not mess with them. He did not expect that he would actually ask the other party to leave. Wasn't he looking for death? If the Yi family heard this news, they would definitely not let it go. After all, as one of the top forces, their reputation was the most important. Being slapped in the face was like touching a tiger's, but for a moment, the manager was frightened and did not dare to speak. Chapter 84. Tang Manlu and the pretty girl were shocked as well. Although the top 8 families were not as powerful as the top 5 martial institutions, their influence in the whole Windy Nation was not something that their families could compare with. As for the martial institutions, it did not mean much. Nowadays, anyone with a little bit of talent would be able to join a martial institution. No one could use the power of a martial institution to scare the others, unless you were the son or daughter of the leader. The pretty girl remained silent, as if she had nothing to do with it. One of the top 8 families, the Yi family is indeed powerful, but that's all you can do. Relying on your family's power, without the protection of your family, you are nothing. Tang Manlu calmed himself down. He did not want to lose face in front of the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, so he said lightly. Wu Zhongming said with disdain, "You are also relying on the Tang family. I think without the Tang family's support, you would not be one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City. You are looking for death." Tang Manlu's eyes were filled with anger. Slowly walking in front of Wu Zhongming, Yi Chen lifted his eyelids and said, "Words are useless. Let's exchange a punch. Whoever takes one step back will have to get the hell out of the number 4 private room. How about that? Are you serious?" Hearing Yi Chen, Tang Manlu was shocked at first, but then a smile appeared on his face. He was still in a dilemma. He didn't know if he should advance or retreat, but he didn't expect Yi Chen to be even more arrogant and ignorant than he had imagined. Yi Chen actually dared to challenge a late condensing reality realm warrior. He was just asking for trouble. Although he was not a core disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, he was still one of the most powerful inner disciples. How could he be afraid of a mid-condensing reality realm warrior? Of course, Yi Chen had never exchanged blows with a late condensing reality realm warrior before. This was the perfect opportunity for him to see how powerful he was. As for losing, he did not even think about it. When he was at the early condensing reality realm, he could already beat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm with only one punch. After reaching the mid-condensing reality realm, his power had increased a lot. Even if his opponent was a core disciple, he would not be able to avoid this punch. Tang Manlu turned his head and said to the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, "That's great. Shopkeeper Li Ling, you too can be our witnesses. I am afraid that someone will not admit it." The shopkeeper smiled at Yi Chen, but did not say anything. Sure, the pretty girl, Li Ling, nodded in agreement. However, it was obvious that she did not think highly of Yi Chen. She thought that he was blindly confident and could not see the truth. Enough nonsense, let's begin. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. He pushed the third movement of the pure jade body-boosting spell to its peak. His skin started to emit an inconspicuous jade-like luster. Even his clothes were covered by a layer of it. His hair had a strong texture. Each strand of it was crystal clear. Wu Zhongming, shopkeeper Yu, and Li Ling retreated to a corner to make room for them. "Fine, today I will show you my strength." With every word he said, Tang Manlu's aura rose by a notch, and in the end, a flame-like colored glaze chi exploded from his body, soaring into the sky, and some of the decorations on the walls were blown away. Li Ling narrowed her eyes. She knew that Tang Manlu could not be underestimated. He had reached the highest level of the 7th level of the Azure Magic spell in only a couple of years, and had reached the level of fire-like Jin Qi. It seemed like there was no doubt about the result of this battle. Shoo, shoo, shoo. While Tang Manlu was making such a big noise on the other side, Yi Chen was not any slower. Sharp chi shot out from his body like needles, piercing the floor and the tables and chairs on the side, creating countless small holes. Not only that, the sharp chi flow formed into chi swords, hiding in the air. The 7th level of the pure Jun Jin Chi. Li Ling was shocked. As an inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, she had fought a lot with the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. She had seen a few of them who had trained the pure Jun Jin Chi, but they had only reached the peak of the 6th level. None of them had reached the 7th level. According to the rumors, The pure Junjin Chi was the hardest to train among all the top-rank mortal realm martial arts in the Sky Cloud Martial School. If he was given enough time, he would definitely become a core disciple. Li Ling still did not think highly of Yi Chun, but she was quite optimistic about his future. Even if he trained it to the 7th level, it would still be useless. The difference between the mid-condensing reality realm and the late-condensing reality realm is not as simple as you think. Tang Manlu was not worried at all. He slowly tightened his right fist, making a cracking sound. It was as if his palm was not made of flesh and blood, but a whole piece of jade that was rubbing against each other. Great jade breaking fist. A bright white light appeared on his fist as Tang Manlu threw out a punch. Rumble. Before the punch was completely thrown out, the whole restaurant started to shake. The customers who were eating were confused, not knowing what was happening. Inside the number 4 private room, the air started to shatter bit by bit. Yi-Chun ignored the change in the air. He stood still. With the protective chi covering his body, these small movements could not hurt him at all. Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. Seeing the fist approaching his body, Yi-Chun did not stand still anymore. He took a step forward, and his right fist suddenly burst out a bright blue light. It pierced through the air with a tiger roar, leaving a dragon-shaped chi flow behind. The two fists clashed together. The next second, including Li Ling, everyone's eyes could not see anything. Only the white light and the blue light intertwined together, filling up the huge private room. Boom! A thunderous sound was heard. The walls of the private room cracked, the floor cracked, the tables and chairs were shattered, and a series of cracking noises were heard. It seemed like someone was pushed back and crashed into something behind him. After a few blinks of the eye, the blue light and the white light disappeared. When they saw the situation in the private room, they all had their eyes wide open. They could not believe what they saw. Tang Manlu lost. Li Ling took a deep breath. Inside the damaged private room, Yi-Chun stood there unmoving like a mountain. The clothes on his right arm were slightly torn, and his eyes moved to the opposite side. There was a human figure leaning against the wall, and the huge power had even caused the wall to collapse. Bright red blood flowed down from his right arm and mouth, and his face was pale and bloodless. This person was none other than Tang Manlu. Get the fuck out. Yi-Chun's voice was heard. He was not too excited about beating Tang Manlu with only one punch, since he had 15,000 pounds of physical strength. His tiger roar, dragon fist had been trained to the peak. It had already evolved into the most powerful attack. If he still could not beat Tang Manlu back, then it would be a problem. Not to mention, Tang Manlu was not that much stronger than Wang Kunyang, who also had 10,000 pounds of physical strength. Good, very good. I will not let today's incident go so easily. Tang Manlu was not seriously injured. After all, he was a late condensing reality realm warrior. His protective Jin Chi was very strong. However, the shame in his heart was driving him crazy. He could not wait to cut Yi-Chun into 1,000 pieces. Standing up, Tang Manlu walked out of the private room in embarrassment. He did not even call Li Ling. Chapter 85. Li Ling took a deep look at Yi-Chun and walked out of the room, leaving the restless manager Yu behind. Since he had made a mistake, he had to make up for it himself. With a face full of remorse, Manager Yu said, "Master Yi, I was blinded by a ghost and did something that offended you. Please don't take it to heart, Master Yi. From now on, there will always be an empty private room in Shilai Restaurant, waiting for your arrival." Yi-Chun did not plan to blame the shopkeeper, since it was not easy for him to do anything. Everything he did had to be done according to other people's wishes, and if he was not careful, he might offend someone. Before this, if he did not kick Yi-Chun and Wu Zoming out, he would offend Tang Manlu. "Don't worry, I won't cause you any trouble. It's just that we haven't finished our meal. Find us a place, even outside, but don't chase us away," Yi-Chun said lightly. Yes, I will do it for you right away." Manager Yu was so grateful that he bowed and retreated. After Manager Yu left, Wu Zoming looked at the broken Chun room and shook his head. He said firmly, "This time, no matter what price I have to pay, I must get a Zhen restoration pill." Yi-Chun said, "Although there will be some side effects, As long as you can control it, it won't be a big problem. To a warrior, cultivation was a way to go against the natural order. As long as one's heart was not corrupted, there was no need to worry. Soon, Manager Yu arranged a place for the two of them in the hall on the second floor and personally served them food and wine. He was very enthusiastic. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The third day, early morning, light rain fell from the gloomy sky, sprinkling evenly on the ground of the Forgotten City. In the north of the central part of the Forgotten City, there was a magnificent building. It was stable and 30 meters tall. There was a huge board hanging above the door, with 5 majestic golden words carved on it: Northwest Auction House. Looking down from the sky, there were dozens of people around the huge Northwest Auction House, rushing toward the auction house along the streets or alleys. Among them, there were rich and powerful people sitting in palanquins, noble women raising low-level demonic beast pets, and young elites riding fine horses. Of course, there were even more unfamiliar martial artists, which made up 70% of the total number of people. Outside the gate, Yichen looked at the words on the board and walked in side by side with Wu Zoming. "You two are." The receptionist outside the door could tell that the young man was extraordinary at first glance, so she hurriedly came over to ask. After all, a person of noble status could not sit in the ordinary seats like the others. Wu Zoming said, "This is a direct descendant of the Yi clan, Yichun. I am a descendant of the Wu clan. The Yi family, one of the 8 great families. This way, please. I'll take you to a private room." The receptionist secretly rejoiced. As a receptionist, she must have good eyesight. Although she did not know some people, she could tell a thing or two from their temperament. She must not treat them as ordinary people and neglect them. The young man in front of her was actually a direct descendant of the Yi clan, so he was definitely of noble status. Although there were many Wu clans mentioned, to be able to walk together with a direct descendant of the Yi clan, it must be the most powerful Wu clan. Walking in front, the receptionist in a thin silk dress twisted her waist. She was already thinking about how generous the reward would be when the higher-ups knew about this. The auction house was very big, even more magnificent than the auction house in Yichen's world. The surrounding walls were inlaid with many gold and crystal stones, forming a beautiful pattern. It did not look vulgar at all, but instead gave people a sense of joy. The private room for the two was directly opposite the stone auction stage to the left. The private room was not big, and there were not many things inside. There were only a few beast leather chairs and a red sandalwood table filled with snacks and fruits. There were some landscape paintings on the wall. "If you need any service, you can tell me. I'll be right outside." She was not the only receptionist. Each of them was in charge of a private room. Yichen said, "Okay." The receptionist walked out and closed the door. Wu Zoming sat down on the beast leather chair. It was soft and had a nice fragrance. Private rooms are great. There are even beast leather chairs to sit on. Yichen sat on a leather chair next to Wu Zoming and laughed. "That's all? You are the second young master of the Wu clan after all. Don't mention it. The inheritance of the Wu clan will not be mine. I don't care anyway. I'll just be an outer elder in the Sky Cloud Martial School." Wu Zoming put a grape in his mouth and said. Yichen shook his head and did not say anything. His goal was simple. He wanted to become stronger and explore the mysteries of the world. In the third private room, there were 5 young people sitting there. The one on the left was Tang Manlu, who had been defeated by Yichen last night. Sitting next to him was the pretty girl, Li Ling. The one sitting in the middle was a young man wearing a purple and gold robe. He was about 17 or 18 years old. His eyebrows were very thick and sharp like blades. His eyes were shining brightly like 2 shiny black gems. His legs were very long, about 3 to 4 inches longer than a normal person's. As he sat there, boundless pressure filled the entire private room. It was obvious that he was the leader of the 5. The 2 people on the right of the young man were wearing the same purple robe as Li Ling. They did not have any gold robes. They had a powerful aura, which was no weaker than Tang Manlu's. "Tang Manlu, I haven't seen you for half a year. Your cultivation has improved a lot." The young man caressed the storage ring on his finger and said casually, Tang Manlu had a complicated look on his face. He said, "Not as good as you, O Yang Ming. You have the title of Little Godly Legs. I don't know how many people have been killed by your legs." Of course, in the whole Windy Nation, except for the young Master Emerald who has already reached the clasping Yuan realm, our brother Ouyang is one of the most powerful martial artists. One of the two people on the right said, of course. But I heard that this time, the third disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, North Snow Fastblade Lynch, will also come. I'm afraid that he is also here for that great blade." Sitting with the young man, Tang Manlu always felt inferior. He could not help but use the name Lynch to pressure the young man. Ouyang Ming sneered, "North Snow Fastblade Lynch. I will fight him sooner or later. Let's see which is more powerful, his blade or mine." Although his title was Little Godly Legs, his blade art was also very powerful. It was not weaker than his leg art. However, there were too many people who used blades, especially in the North Snow Martial Academy. That was why he was called Little Godly Legs. Right at that moment, a human figure suddenly appeared on the crystal glass in front of them. The human figure was wearing a snow-white robe. He was tall and skinny. He seemed to be walking very slowly, but the waitress behind him could not keep up with him. She almost fell down. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Judging from his temperament, the human figure was very impressive. However, when people looked at his face, they were very disappointed, because he had a very ordinary face, so ordinary that they would not be able to find him in a crowd. Lynch. Ouyang Ming's eyes flashed like lightning in the air. He slightly lowered his center of gravity, which made the sturdy leather chair creak. As if he had sensed Ouyang Ming's gaze, the human figure turned his head and looked into Ouyang Ming's eyes. The waitress was very confused. The crystal glass could only show the outside from the inside, but not from the outside. Why did this disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy look like he was looking at a person? Chapter 86. In the private room, Tang Manlu didn't look Lin Shi in the eye, but Lin Shi's gaze made him jump in fright. He had the illusion of being cut by a knife. It was as if Lin Shi's gaze was a knife light that could cut through illusions and hurt people's souls. It had an inconceivable power. In the void, Ouyang Ming and Lin Shi's eyes had already clashed. Countless electric sparks were produced, and they refused to give in to each other. After a few blinks of an eye, both of them looked away. North Snow Quickblade. Ouyang Ming sneered. His face did not look so good. Although Lynch was not as powerful as young Master North Snow, his gaze was more powerful. Just now, it seemed like they were evenly matched, but in fact, Ouyang Ming was already at a disadvantage. No wonder the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, Shui Warren, thought that Ouyang Ming would be the most likely person to comprehend the blade intent. However, as long as he did not comprehend the blade intent, Ouyang Ming was confident that he would be able to compete with him. Outside the private room, Lynch expressionlessly walked forward and stopped in front of the private room next to Yichen's. Yichen suddenly frowned. He seemed to feel a blade aura approaching him. "Yichen, what's wrong?" Wu Zoming asked. Yichen shook his head. "Nothing. The auction is about to start." "Yeah, most of the people have arrived." "All right. How much money did you bring?" 180,000 gold. "You didn't ask your family for money?" 180,000 gold was a huge amount of money for normal people, but it was normal for them. This time, for the Zhun pellet and some other treasures, Wu Zoming had collected 300,000 gold. Yichen's family was much bigger than the Wu family. If he really wanted to collect, it would definitely be more than this amount. Yichen laughed. "That's enough. I'm just going to take a look. Maybe I won't buy anything." 180,000 gold was the Bloody Butcher's entire wealth and the money he had earned from his recent missions. It was already quite a lot. If there was something he was interested in, he still had 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring. If each one was worth 2,000 silver, then 10,000 low-rank soul stones would be worth more than 20 million silver, or 2 million gold. It was even more than the total assets of some small families. When the time comes, you will regret bringing too little silver." Wu Zoming grinned. Yichen's mind was not completely focused on the conversation with Wu Zoming. His powerful soul force penetrated through the wall and searched the room next door. There was only a young man sitting in the private room. His appearance was ordinary, and he was dressed in a white robe. His slim body was straight, and his profound chi was not emitted from his body. Instead, it was pulled inwards, as if he was trying to concentrate his chi. Peak of late condensing reality realm. This guy should be North Snow Fast Blade Lynch. Yichen did not think of young Master North Snow, because young Master North Snow was said to be very handsome and always had a smile on his face. Plus, he was very handsome, and was the dream of all the female disciples in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Lynch didn't know anything about soul power exploration, but the strange feeling still made him vigilant. He tilted his head and looked at the flat wall. Did you notice it? No, I didn't. Yichen noticed that the other party's gaze was scattered and did not notice him. Of course, there was no point in continuing to explore, so Yichen withdrew his soul power. Lynch felt that the strange feeling disappeared. He was a bit confused, but he didn't think too much about it, because the auction had begun. Behind the stone auction stage, an old man in a yellow robe walked up. He clapped his hands, and all the crystals above the auction house suddenly lit up. The soft light illuminated every corner of the auction house. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Northwest Auction House. I am the intermediate auctioneer here, Qian Zhongchao. I think a lot of you already know me. For those of you who don't know me, you don't have to remember my name, because the next time you come, I might be the host of the auction again. Before the auction, I still have to say, if you have any precious items that you want to auction, you can entrust them to our auction house. Items are divided into 4 ranks according to their value. Low-rank treasures will only take 10% of the auction fees. Mid-rank treasures will take 5%. High-rank treasures will be auctioned for free. And as for the extreme-rank treasures, we will even pay you the money. Once he said this, the people below started discussing. Are you kidding me? If there are high-rank and extreme-rank treasures, who would take them out to auction? You must be out of your mind. That's right. A low-rank treasure is enough to make people fight for it, and mid-rank treasures can make clasping Yuan realm and astral-reaching realm warriors go crazy for it. Top-rank treasures are even worse, not to mention extreme-rank treasures. Yichen was also speechless. The ranking of the auction items was the same as the storage rings, which were divided into 4 ranks. A low-rank storage ring was equivalent to a low-rank treasure, and a mid-rank storage ring was equivalent to a mid-rank treasure. As for top-rank and extreme-rank treasures, he dared not even imagine what it would be. The elder in yellow revealed a smile. He did not say these words casually, but to stir up the people's emotions. Once people got excited, they would do things that were hard to understand, which was exactly what the auction house wanted. All right, I will not waste your time anymore. The auction will officially begin. Let the first item come up. As the elder's voice faded, a beautiful lady walked up from the back. She was holding a gold-inlaid wooden plate, which was covered with a bright yellow silk cloth. The gold-inlaid wooden plate was placed on the stage, and the elder in yellow lifted up the silk cloth. All of a sudden, a blue manual appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The first item is a martial skill manual called the Green Yuan Palm, a top-rank mortal realm martial art. It is a unique martial art from the Rank 8 martial institution, the Green Yuan Martial School, from hundreds of years ago. When trained to the extreme, the palm power can even shatter a great sword into pieces. It is extremely powerful. It is even more powerful than many top-rank mortal realm martial arts. The starting price is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Hearing the elder in yellow's introduction, the audience was shocked. Some of the warriors who did not join any martial institution were envious. They were not like the martial disciples, who could learn top-rank mortal realm martial arts after being promoted to inner disciples. They did not need to worry about it at all. Most of them had only learned top-rank mortal realm martial arts, and some of them had only learned mid-rank mortal realm martial arts, which was quite shabby. Damn, let's do it! If we can learn a top-rank mortal realm martial art, we will be able to make a name for ourselves in a martial world. Those martial disciples will not compete with us, so we will have a better chance of getting the manual. We have to get it. Through the crystal glass, Yichen saw the changes in the crowd and shook his head. Compared to the martial disciples, These warriors did not have easy. All they learned were trash, and the martial disciples would not even look at them once. However, according to the introduction, the green yuan palm seemed to be very powerful, and it might even be as powerful as the tiger war dragon fist. No wonder so many people wanted to come to the Northwest Auction House. 22,000 gold. Someone could not help but start a bid. After the first bid, the whole auction house became chaotic and people kept calling out bids. 23,000. 25,000. Fuck, 28,000 gold. A ferocious-looking warrior stood up. I will bid 30,000. Who dares to compete with me? 30,000 is nothing. 35,000. Yi-chan was shocked. No way. A top-ranked mortal realm martial art can be sold for 35,000 gold. Then what about my 180,000 gold? Chapter 87. 40,000. The ferocious-looking warrior directly added 5,000 gold. It was obvious that he was determined to get this Qing Yuan palm manual. Damn it, I only have 38,000 gold. I still need 2,000 gold. Whoever wants to lend me, I will pay you back double in the future. Someone tried to borrow money from the warrior next to him. We don't care about 2,000 gold, but what if we run into some good stuff and don't have enough gold? So sorry, we can't do that. You are right. The small auction only happens once every half a year. If we miss this one, we will have to wait for another half a year. How can we borrow money? At this moment, no warrior wanted to borrow money. After all, they only had around 50,000 gold. If they were short of 1,000 gold, they would lose a lot of confidence. It was not wise to lend money to others. In the end, the Qing Yuan palm manual fell into the hands of the ferocious-looking warrior for 40,000 gold. The second item, 3 groups of low-rank soul stones, 100 in each group. They will be auctioned separately. The starting price for each group is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Start. The elder in yellow robes lifted the silk cloth and announced loudly as the golden-laid wooden plate was placed on the stage. What? Low-rank soul stones? I haven't used low-rank soul stones for a long time. This time I have to get a set. With low-rank soul stones, I might be able to reach the late condensing reality realm in a short time. It is priceless. 100 low-rank soul stones are enough for me to use for more than a year. Off the stage, all the warriors who didn't belong to any martial schools went crazy. They all breathed heavily. Their eyes were bloodshot as they stared at the low-rank soul stones on the stage. They just wanted to go up there and snatch them away. 22,000 gold, 25,000 gold, 28,000 gold, 30,000 gold. The price of the first group of low-rank soul stones rose sharply. The elder in yellow robes stood on the stage with a smile on his face. The higher the price of the item, the more stable his position would be, and the higher his salary would be. Soon, the first group of low-rank soul stones was bought by an extremely ugly warrior for 35,000 gold. The bidding for the second group of low-rank soul stones began. Perhaps it was because there was one less group, but some of the cultivators who had been watching from the sidelines couldn't help but join in the bidding. This caused the price of the second group of low-grade spirit stones to quickly surpass the first group. It reached 38,000 gold taels and was won by a middle-aged cultivator. When it was the third group's turn, the scene was completely heated up. Those cultivators who didn't manage to get the low-grade spirit stones earlier desperately put in all their belongings, vowing to win the last group of low-grade spirit stones. In the private room, Ichan was also shocked. He thought that a low-rank soul stone would be worth 250 gold, but he never thought that it would be worth nearly 400 gold. Didn't that mean that the 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring were worth 4 million gold? 40,000 gold going once, 40,000 gold going twice, 40,000 gold going thrice. Sold. Congratulations to this martial artist. The elder in yellow let out a sigh of relief after the third group of low-rank soul stones had been sold. It seemed that low-rank soul stones were in high demand. Unfortunately, the lowest price of the auction in the Northwest Auction House was 20,000 gold. Otherwise, they could be separated into groups of 10. In this way, those warriors who didn't have enough wealth would definitely try their best to fight for them. even if it was 500 gold per piece. After all three groups of low-rank soul stones had been delivered to the buyers, the elder in yellow cleared his throat and said with a loud voice, "Next is the third item, the ancient half of a sword." Shoo! The silk cloth was lifted up, revealing the upper half of the sword in front of everyone. Perhaps it was because it was too old and broken. The sword still looked dim under the crystal light. Damn! What the hell is this? What is this thing? Half of a sword. Even if it was originally a mid-rank treasure, it would not be valuable anymore. Who would want to bid for it? Look, maybe there is something hidden in it. No one could tell what was going on. Their eyes landed on the elder in yellow, wanting to hear his explanation. The elder in yellow was prepared for this. He reached out his hand and picked up the sword and said, "According to the appraisal experts of our auction house, this half of the sword is 500 years old. In other words, this is an antique with 500 years of history. In addition, 500 years ago, it might have been a top-rank great sword, but for some unknown reason, it was broken by someone and lost its spirit. A 500 years old antique, a top-rank great sword. What a pity. If it was still in good condition, some of the people from the Windy Nation and even the South River region would definitely come to fight for it. A broken top-rank great sword with no spirit. Why would I want to buy it? Maybe some antique collectors would go and bid for it. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. Yeah, let's just watch from the sidelines. Let's see what this broken thing is like." Hearing the comments from the audience, the elder in yellow smiled bitterly. This half of the sword indeed did not have any practical use. It only had 500 years of history left. Hopefully, it could be sold for a good price. Of course, there was nothing that could be done if it could not be sold. The previous 2 rounds of publicity had already been done. Whether it lived or died would depend on the next round. Is this the other half of the broken sword? In the private room, Yi Chen's eyes shone with a bright light. He stared at the half of the sword on the stone auction stage without blinking. This half of the sword was also dull. Its width was the same as the broken sword that he had bought at the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Even the crack was almost the same. Only the middle part was missing. If he was not mistaken, the 2 parts were originally one, but they were separated due to various reasons. Now the bidding begins. The starting price is 20,000 gold. Each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. The elder in yellow looked around and took a deep breath before saying loudly. There was a moment of silence. "I bid 21,000 gold. The one who spoke was an elder in his 70s. He had a gray beard and was wearing an old-fashioned black robe. Someone recognized the elder's identity. He was one of the few antique collectors in the Forgotten City. He loved to buy strange things and put them in his house for his own appreciation. He would not allow others to see them even if they wanted to. Even his own family members were no exception. He was known as an old-fashioned old man. In the private room, Yi Chen did not rush to bid. He had to keep his composure. Otherwise, it would easily arouse others' suspicions if he attacked fiercely. There was silence in the hall. No one made a bid. The elder in yellow knew that it was time to liven up the atmosphere. 21,000 gold. Who wants to bid a higher price? Don't forget, this half of the sword could be a fragment of a high-grade sword. Even if it has lost its spirituality, we might still be able to find something useful in it. Moreover, it has 500 years of history. It's really a long history. The hall was still silent. At this moment, Yi Chen raised the plate in his hand. 22,000 gold. Good. Someone has increased the price. Good eyes. Who else wants to bid? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The elder in yellow said excitedly. 30,000 gold. This time, it was not the elder collector who bid. It was Ouyang Ming who was in the 3rd private room next door. Tang Mamlu asked doubtfully, "Brother Ouyang, is this half of the sword very important?" Ouyang Ming said calmly, "It's nothing. It's good to buy it for my collection. After all, this small amount of money is nothing." Chapter 88. 30,000 taels of gold. Someone is raising the price again. What are you waiting for? The yellow-clothed old man's voice was even louder. The price of 30,000 taels of gold had already reached his estimation. Even if no one continued to raise the price, he was already satisfied. The old collector raised his board. 31,000 taels. 32,000 taels. Yichen also raised the price. Ouyang Ming disdainfully smiled. 40,000 taels. I won't raise the price. Although this thing is to my liking, it is not worth this price. It is better to buy other antiques. The old collector gave up on raising the price. You should have given up a long time ago. Isn't just half a sword? Why spend tens of thousands of taels of gold? The warrior beside him laughed. What do you know? As long as it is an antique, there's a research value. Okay, I don't know, but you do. In the private room, Yi Chun frowned and raised the price to 41,000 taels. Wu Zoming was confused. Yi Chun, what's wrong with you? There's still many treasures after this. There's no need to waste money on this broken thing. Do you really think you can find something from it? Without its spirituality, this half of the sword is about the same value as a normal treasure sword. Yi Chun said, since we are here to participate in the auction, we have to buy something back. I can't do anything to you. Wu Zoming shook his head. 50,000 taels. Ouyang Ming raised his board. This amount of gold was nothing to him. He had been an inner disciple for many years and had completed hundreds of missions. His accumulated wealth had reached a terrifying level. Even some of the middle-class families might not be as rich as him. A mere 50,000 taels of gold was nothing to him. The yellow-clothed old man's heart almost jumped out his chest. This was too inconceivable. The half of the sword that he thought no one was interested in was actually sold for 50,000 taels of gold. It was far beyond his estimation. Moreover, it seemed that the other side did not plan to give up. Below the stage, everyone also felt that it was very strange, but they were not very surprised. Every time there was an auction, there would always be some dark horse. Some worthless things would be auctioned for a very high price, while some valuable treasures could not be sold. Another two rich people who have nowhere to go, someone said enviously. 80% of them are sect disciples. These people are really rich. Sigh, it's a pity that we're not talented enough. Otherwise, we would have entered the sect long ago. Now we could at least become outer sect elders. How impressive. That's enough. They're raising the price again. 55,000 taels. Yichen added another 5,000 taels. 60,000, 65,000, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. Yichen's expression was very ugly. He had originally thought that no one would bid for the half-sword until now. Who would have thought that things would go against his wishes? Instead, the price had risen all the way to 90,000. He really didn't know if that person was deliberately trying to join in on the fun, or if he really wanted to buy it. Raising his sign, Yi Chun bid 100,000 taels. Suck. Everyone on the scene gasped. 100,000 taels of gold was not a small amount. Many mid-condensing reality realm warriors would not be able to earn this amount even after 10 years of hard work. After all, warriors spent a lot of money, and they would never try to save money when it came to buying pellets. Although 100,000 taels of gold is not a big deal, there is no need for me to continue bidding. It's not like I have much use for it anyway. I'll just keep it as a collection. Plus, I've tricked that person. I think that person would feel bad about it. Ouyang Ming sat on the demonic beast leather chair with a faint smile on his face as he teased. A disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School said flatteringly, if we knew who that person was, we would definitely ask him to treat us. Brother Ouyang has already given him a lot of face. Yeah, when the auction is over, let's go and see who that person is. Ouyang Ming said, you guys don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. I don't want him to treat us. Just ask him to lend me the half-sword for a few days. Hearing Ouyang Ming, Li Ling bitterly smiled. She thought to herself, that person better not go against Second Brother. Otherwise, he will suffer a lot. In the whole Windy Nation, there were not many people who could go against Second Brother. 100,000 taels going once, 100,000 taels going twice, 100,000 taels going thrice sold. Congratulations to the VIP in room number 7. This half-sword will be delivered to you immediately. The elder in yellow was so happy that he looked like he had just picked up 100,000 taels of gold. Soon, the pretty girl walked in with the half-sword in her hands. TSK, TSK. Even this piece of junk is worth 100,000 taels of gold. Wu Zongming only took a glance at it, then lost interest. Yi Chen handed the pretty girl 10 gold notes worth 10,000 taels of gold each, then took the half-sword from her and threw it into his storage ring. Yi Chen scanned the sword with his soul power. He thought to himself, these two are indeed one, but there is still a small part missing. I wonder if I can gather them all. Yi Chen could vaguely hear a loud laughter coming out of the half-sword. It was so ancient that it left a deep impression on him. He knew that there must be something special about it. Otherwise, he would not have spent 100,000 taels of gold to buy it. The fourth item is 3 Zhenjin pellets. I think everyone knows what they can do. That's right, they can increase a condensing reality realm warrior's cultivation by 50%, and the side effects are very small. Besides that, you can take this pellet 3 times in a row. The first time is 50% chance, the second time is 30% chance, and the third time is 10% chance. Whoever can buy 3 of these pellets will definitely be able to increase his or her cultivation by 1 level, unless he or she is very unlucky. After the previous surprise, the real hot item officially appeared on the stage. It was the Zhenjin pellet that Wu Zongming had been dreaming of. There were 3 of them in total, and each of them was priceless, especially for those warriors with low talent. The 3 pellets will be auctioned separately. The starting price will be 30,000 taels of gold, and each bid must be at least 2,000 taels of gold. Wu Zongming could not wait any longer. He raised a sign and said, 50,000 taels of gold. Buzz. Everyone in the auction house was confused by this price. Who is this guy? Why did he bid such a high price at the beginning? Is he trying to kill us all? Some of the warriors who were not rich enough were gritting their teeth, but they could not do anything about it. They were not as rich as him. Otherwise, they could have just bid 1,000,000 taels of gold and see who would dare to compete. 55,000 taels. After a moment of silence, someone started to bid. Wu Zongming grinned. 70,000 taels, 80,000 taels. A martial disciple started to bid. 100,000 taels. Wu Zongming continued to bid. 120,000 taels. 150,000 taels. In the end, the first Zhenjin pellet fell into Wu Zongming's hands, which shocked everyone. Martial disciples were indeed martial disciples. They were all extremely rich. The starting price of the pellet was 30,000 taels of gold, but it was raised to 150,000 taels of gold, which made them feel completely hopeless. The second pellet was not as popular. It was bought by someone who looked like a martial disciple for 130,000 taels of gold. The third pellet was raised again. It reached 160,000 taels of gold. It was also bought by a martial disciple. The elder in yellow was very satisfied with this result. He cleared his throat and said, next up is the most important item, a low-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill Manual. What? A low-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill? Are you kidding me? Including the guests in the private room. Everyone was shocked. Chapter 89. Don't be surprised. The fifth item is indeed a low-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill Manual. The seller is a clasping Yuan realm martial artist, who is quite famous in the northern part of the Windy Nation. But of course, we can't reveal his name, as it violates the rules of the auction house. Let's cut to the chase. This low-rank Earth Realm martial skill is a leg martial skill called the Killing Tyrant Kick. If you master this martial skill, you will be able to stop the flow of a river with a single kick, and if you master this martial skill, you will be able to shatter a 100-meter-tall mountain with a single kick. It is said that when you master this martial skill, the air will no longer be an obstacle, and your speed will reach an unimaginable level. You will be able to cover 100 meters with a single step. The old man in yellow didn't want to keep people in suspense. He explained everything in one breath. Boom! The auction house was boiling. The VIP guests in the private rooms who had been indifferent all this time started to breathe faster. Stopping the flow of a river, shattering a mountain, covering 100 meters with a single step, it was already very rare to have one of these 3 skills, let alone combining them into one. A low-rank Earth Realm martial skill was indeed incomparable to a top-rank Mortal Realm martial skill. It had reached a whole new level. Yichen didn't care too much about the first 2 skills, because the Tyrant Fist could also do the same. But the third one was even more shocking. Covering 100 meters with a single step was much more terrifying than leaping 100 meters. After all, leaping would take at least a few steps, not to mention the fact that the killing tyrant kick was not only about speed. This leg martial skill manual is mine. Inside the private room, Ouyang Ming made up his mind. Although he already had a low-rank martial skill manual, it was only a martial skill manual. Both the leg and blade arts were top-rank mortal realm martial skills, and of course, they were the best of the best. The starting price is 100,000 gold. Each bid must be at least 10,000 gold. Start bidding. 120,000 gold. 130,000 gold. 150,000. 180,000. The price of the martial skill kept rising. All the martial artists who didn't belong to any martial institution were stunned. Ouyang Ming sneered. He raised the wooden sign and shouted, 250,000 gold. Who is in that private room? He just increased the price by 70,000 gold. He is so rich. A martial artist curiously asked. I saw Ouyang Ming from the Purple Sun Martial School enter that private room before. It should be him. No wonder, among the young generation of the Windy Nation, only a few people could surpass Ouyang Ming in terms of wealth, such as young Master Emerald, young Master Duanmu, and young Master North Snow. In this auction, there are also disciples who are as famous as Ouyang Ming. For example, North Snow Fastblade Lynch is also here. Lynch, it's said that he has the potential to surpass Child North Snow and become the #1 disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy. It's impossible for now, but who knows in the future? Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, another bid sounded out. 300,000 taels. The voice was slightly deep, and it came from the second private room. Ouyang Ming remained calm. 350,000 taels. 400,000. 450,000 taels. That person quickly followed. 500,000 taels. To be honest, even Yi-chan was startled by this price. He thought to himself, the voice of the person who followed the bid is very deep. It should be a middle-aged man. A middle-aged man with 500,000 taels of gold. He must be a clasping yuan realm martial artist. After all, apart from the top martial artists of the Windy Nation, very few condensing reality realm martial artists will be able to bid 500,000 taels of gold. The other person was the young man who was competing with him for half of the sword. He was most likely a core disciple of some big martial institution, and Yi-chun was sure that he had heard of his name before. It was just that he couldn't recognize his voice. 600,000 taels. Ouyang Ming raised his voice. 700,000 taels. 800,000 taels. 900,000 taels. That person didn't even budge an inch. Hee hee. Ouyang Ming laughed. His face had a trace of ferociousness, which made Tang Manlu and Li Ling's hair stand on end. They knew that Ouyang Ming was angry, but that middle-aged man was obviously not a kind person. He was most likely a clasping yuan realm martial artist. Unless the elders of the Purple Sun Martial School came, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Taking a deep breath, Ouyang Ming roared, 1,200,000 taels. Standing next to Yi-chun, Wu Zongming said with jealousy, this martial institution's disciple is so rich, although I haven't heard his voice, but it's very likely that he is one of the 3 big steps of the younger generation in the Windy Nation. Compared to him, we are so poor, so poor. Do more missions and save up for a few years. You will also have the same amount of money. A few years later, you will have even more money. Never mind. The most important thing is to improve our cultivation. The money will come sooner or later. Yi-chun didn't say anything. He started to think the more money he had, the better. In the future, when there was a large-scale auction, he was afraid that even 1 or 2 million taels of gold would not be enough. He seemed to have more than 10,000 low-rank soul stones, but if he really had to exchange them for gold, he would feel a bit sad. 1,300,000 taels. The price continued to rise. Ouyang Ming gritted his teeth and said, 1,500,000 taels. 1,600,000 taels. That middle-aged man's tone was the same. There was no change in his tone. Damn it. Ouyang Ming smashed the rosewood table with his palm. His eyes were bloodshot. If it weren't for the fact that he still had to compete for that great blade, he wouldn't be so angry. Now that he had used so much gold, how could he compete with Lynch? After all, Lynch's wealth was not much less than his. 1,800,000 taels. Ouyang Ming decided to fight again. He hoped that Lynch would back off. Otherwise, when he reached the clasping Yuan realm in the future, he would definitely kill this person. A calm voice came, 2,000,000 taels. If I don't kill this person, I, Ouyang Ming, will not be satisfied. Veins popped out on his forehead. Ouyang Ming squeezed out a beast-like roar from his throat. The old man in yellow didn't care about this. He only cared about the price. According to the real value of this martial skill book, it was only about 500,000 taels. It was definitely not more than 100,000 taels. Now that the price had doubled, it was 2,000,000 taels of gold. How could he not be happy? 2,000,000 taels going once, 2,000,000 taels going twice sold. After the climax, the next part was a bit low-key. The style of the Northwest auction house was different from other places. Normally, it was divided into 3 rounds. The first round was used to liven up the atmosphere and arouse people's emotions. The second round's items were not as valuable as the first round's items, but there were a lot more of them. There were dozens of items, and each of them had different values. The lowest one was no more than 20,000 taels of gold, while the highest one was more than 100,000 taels of gold. All in all, those martial artists who didn't belong to any martial institution were waiting for this moment. They were all bidding in full swing, competing for the items that they wanted. The third round had begun. Different from the previous 2 rounds, the third round's items were all treasures. The starting price was more than 50,000 taels of gold. Some of them were even more valuable than the martial skill book. The 68th item, the low-rank Great Blade, the space-splitting blade. The real climax was about to begin. In the private room, Lin Shi opened his eyes that had been closed all this time. His sharp gaze seemed to have materialized, flashing randomly in the void like streaks of illusory blade light that could steal one's soul. Chapter 90. The elder reached out his hand and picked up the sheathed great saber from the wooden plate, then slowly pulled it out. All of a sudden, a beam of silver light flashed, and the saber chi shot up into the sky, seeming like it could cut people's souls. The huge auction stage was filled with coldness. Good saber. This saber is not just a low-rank great saber anymore. It is close to a mid-rank great saber. Inside the private room, an elder in gray robes said with greed in his eyes. Yichun thought of something. The air-shattering saber in the elder's hand did not seem to be as powerful as the tiger head saber he got from the underground world. It had the same saber chi and sharp edge. If he needed money in the future, he could sell it to the auction house. The air-shattering saber. The saber of the Blade Marquis 100 years ago. It is 4 feet and 2 inches long, and its widest part is 2 and 3 inches. The back of the saber is half an inch thick, and the handle is 7 inches long. It can generate saber chi and increase the power of the user. The starting price is 300,000 silvers, and each increment must be no less than 50,000 silvers. You can start now. Putting the great saber back into the sheath, the elder in yellow put the air-shattering saber back on the wooden plate, then looked around. Seeing that everyone was staring at the air-shattering saber, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. 1,000,000 silvers. In the 6th private room, Lynch raised his wooden plate. 1,500,000 silvers. The elder in gray robes followed. Ouyang Ming was a bit surprised by the bidder, but of course he would not give up on the air-shattering saber. He yelled, 2,000,000 silvers. Did I hear it right? It has only been 3 bids, and it has already reached 2,000,000 gold. North Snow, Quick Blade Lynch, and Little Godly Leg Ouyang Ming both made their bids. I wonder who the other elder is. I know. That elder is called Blade Old Man. He is at the early clasping Yuan realm, and he is quite famous in the martial world. I wonder how many people he has killed with his saber art. Blade Old Man? I remember now. Quick Blade Wu Wanshan used to be his teacher, but for some reason, they parted ways. I did not expect to see him here. Wu Wanshan is probably as powerful as Blade Old Man now, but North Snow Quick Blade Lynch is even more powerful. He beat Wu Wanshan with only 10 attacks. Don't underestimate Blade, old man. Haven't you heard that the older ginger is the spicier? This person has been active for decades, so he must have countless trump cards. Lynch's expression remained the same. 3 million. Little brat, you have quite a lot of wealth. I'll let you show off for a while, but when we get out of Forgotten City, the air-splitting blade will be mine. The gray-robed old man, Dao So, was reluctant to spend so much gold to bid for the Skysplitter saber. He felt that it was a waste. It would be better to wait for someone else to bid for it, then secretly follow them and kill them to get the treasure. In any case, it was not the first time he had done something like this. With one less competitor, Ouyang felt much more relaxed. Just like Lynch, he increased the price by 1 million taels, reaching a sky-high price of 4 million taels. 5 million! Without even thinking about it, Lynch continued to raise the price, as if the gold he had on him was just a broken stone that wouldn't hurt him no matter how much he threw out. 5,500,000 taels. Ouyang felt that he had underestimated Lynch. 5 million taels was the highest price he could offer, of which 30% was borrowed from Rushing Thunderhand. Ouyang lied. 5,500,000 taels. Lynch had also reached his limit. He only added 50,000 taels of gold. Turning his head, Ouyang said to the people around him, "Lend me all the gold you have. I'll pay you back 4 times in the future." Li Ling said, "I still have 20,000 taels left from the 2 items I bought earlier. I still have 20,000 taels left. 35,000 taels." After pooling everything, Ouyang managed to come up with an extra 100,000 taels of gold. He invested all of it and shouted, 5,650,000 taels. Lynch frowned. Then he remembered that before he left, Junior sister May gave him a small bag and asked him to open it at a critical moment. Taking out the bag and opening it, Lynch showed a rare smile. Although he looked ordinary, his smile was like that of a child, pure and flawless. 5,700,000 taels. Lynch raised the price again. Hearing that, Ouyang was stunned. Impossible. How can he still have the energy? Tang Manlu and Li Ling looked at each other. They felt that Lynch's price was just like his knife skill, unpredictable and unexpected. In the end, the air-splitting blade fell into Lynch's hand. 5,700,000 taels. This is too much. How can we live? Look, Lynch came out. It seems like he's going to leave. I heard that he came here for the air-splitting blade. It's normal for him to leave. It would be a waste of time if he stayed. Hey, Dao So is following him. Is he going to kill him for the treasure? It's possible, but is he not afraid of the North Snow Martial Academy's revenge? It seems like you don't know Dao so well. He is always reckless, and his whereabouts are uncertain. Maybe he will escape to another country after killing Lynch, and the North Snow Martial Academy might not be able to find him. Some people noticed what happened. They started to discuss with each other in low voices. Lynch's departure did not cause too much of a commotion. The auction continued. The 79th item was a low-rank Earth Realm martial art manual, but it was an auxiliary one. It was called the Limitless Universe Art. It could stabilize Jin Qi and suppress Jin Qi. It sounded normal, but a lot of powerful martial artists did not think so. When a martial artist made a breakthrough, their Jin Qi would be unstable, and their cultivation would be unstable. But if a martial artist trained the Limitless Universe Art, this would not be a problem. Besides, when fighting with other martial artists, it could also suppress the scattered Jin Qi and increase the endurance of the battle, which could be fatal for martial artists with similar cultivation. Therefore, no matter from which aspect, the Limitless Universe Art was more valuable than the Sky-Killing Kick Art, since the latter was a martial skill, and the True Spirit Continent did not lack martial skills. However, the Limitless Universe Art was an auxiliary martial art. It was very rare, and even big martial institutions would not have it. Its starting price was 200,000 taels, which was twice the price of the Sky-Killing Kick Art. 500,000 taels. The Clasping Yuan Realm martial artist who had bought the Sky-Killing Kick Art made his bid again. Ouyang sneered, "I can't get the air-shattering blade anymore, so I'm not afraid of you. But the air-shattering blade will be mine sooner or later." That elder in gray is obviously a Clasping Yuan Realm martial artist. I am afraid he is up to no good by following Lynch. As long as he kills Lynch, I will have plenty of ways to get the air-shattering blade from him. Ouyang Ming calmed himself down, raised his plate. 3 million. The whole place was silent. The clasping Yuan realm martial artist did not say anything. Seeing that no one else was bidding, Ouyang Ming smiled. 4 million. A clear female voice was heard. It was calm. It is Su Jing. Yichen blurted out. Wu Zoming was shocked. Are you sure it is senior sister Su Jing? Yichen nodded. I have met senior sister Su Jing before. I have talked to her for a while. Senior sister Su Jing is currently ranked 8th among the core disciples. I heard that she is way more powerful than that. I wonder if it is true. Should be. When he accidentally saw Su Jing training, Yichen thought he had seen her power. He thought she only had 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of strength, but she was quite powerful. But now he did not think so. As his cultivation level increased, he recalled that scene. He was sure that she did not use all of her power. She had only used 30% of it at most. It was the power that was stored inside her body. Chapter 91. Su Jing's unexpected appearance made Ouyang Ming's face turn green. It seemed like he did not check the almanac when he left the house today. Not only did he not get the air-killing kick manual, he did not get the air-splitting blade, and now he even lost the limitless heaven and earth art. I don't believe that I can't get the limitless heaven and earth art. Ouyang Ming shouted in his heart and increased the bid to 5 million. Su Jing's voice was flat as she said to her 3 junior sisters in the same private room, lend me all your money. Senior sister, I'll lend it to you. You can't let Ouyang Ming get the limitless heaven and earth art. The female disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were all very beautiful. They each took out a stack of gold notes and gave them to Su Jing. After counting the gold notes, Su Jing raised her head. 6 million. Okay, 6 million. This has broken the record of the previous small auctions. Who else wants to bid? You should know that the limitless heaven and earth art is very rare to see. If you lose this opportunity, it will be very difficult to get again. The elder in yellow added fuel to the fire on the stage. Unfortunately, no matter how much he talked, no one continued to raise the price. 6 million taels of gold was too high. There were many big clans in Forgotten City, but they did not have the means to transfer so much gold at once. Moreover, the infinite heaven and earth skill was only an auxiliary skill. It could not directly increase one's combat power. Spending 6 million taels of gold to buy it was not worth it. Good steel should be used on the blade. However, Su Jing was different. Although this heaven and earth limitless technique couldn't increase her battle prowess, it would be of great help to her in the future. After breaking through to the next realm, she didn't need to worry about the phenomenon of her true chi being unstable anymore. Imperceptibly, it would shorten the cultivation time needed to advance again. Shaking his head, the elder in yellow knew that 6 million gold was the end of the line. 6 million going once. 6 million going twice. Sold. Congratulations to the lady in room 12. Without him saying anything, someone sent the limitless heaven and earth art to her. What made Tang Manlu and Li Ling feel strange was that the angry Ouyang Ming calmed down. His eyes were deep and cold, but no one knew what he was thinking. There were 3 other treasures left, and all of them were sold at a sky-high price. However, the highest price was only 4,500,000 gold. It could not exceed the price of the air-splitting blade and the limitless heaven and earth art. The auction ended successfully, and everyone left the room. Opening the door, Yi Chan said, "Let's go." Picking up a grape and throwing it into his mouth, Wu Zoming was in a good mood. He could not wait to go back to the Sky Cloud Martial School and take the Jinqi pellet. The two walked out of the private room and headed for the exit. "Little brat, so you are a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School." At the entrance, there were 5 young men standing there. Tang Manlu and Li Ling were among them, and the other 3 were new faces. The leading young man was wearing a purple and gold robe. He had long legs and was about 1.9 meters tall. Yichen asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" "Nothing much. My senior brother Ouyang wants to invite you to the Fortune Immortal restaurant for a drink. I hope you can give him some face." One of them said sinisterly, "Sorry, I'm busy." Yichen took 2 steps to the side and was about to leave. That man stopped Yichen. What? You don't even want to give me face? If senior brother Ouyang did not give you that half of the sword, do you think you could have gotten it? On the side, Ouyang sneered. He did not want to cause trouble for Yichen. He only wanted to know who the female disciples were. After asking around, he found out that there were 4 of them. 3 of them were wearing the inner disciple uniform of the Sky Cloud Martial School, and the last one also had the symbol of the Sky Cloud Martial School on his sleeve. Seeing that Yichen was also from the Sky Cloud Martial School, he immediately came up with a plan. Wu Zhongming rolled his eyes and said, "You guys did not get any treasures in the auction because you are not capable enough. What does it have to do with us? Do you think we need you to give it to us?" Senior brother Ouyang invited you for a drink because he thinks highly of you. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Another Purple Sun Martial School inner disciple said in a deep voice. Yichen thought it was Tang Man Lu who was causing trouble, but it seemed like it was not the case. He said indifferently, "Move, don't block the way." Just when the two were about to lose their temper, Ouyang said, "Among the young generation of the Windy Nation, many people want to invite me for a drink, but it is very difficult. Today I, Ouyang, invite people for a drink. Even if you don't want to go, you have no choice." How arrogant! I would like to see how the godly legs Ouyang is going to invite us Sky Cloud Martial School disciples for a drink. Behind Yichen and Wu Zhongming, Su Jing's voice came. "Senior sister Su." Yichen and Wu Zhongming nodded. Su Jing walked in the front, followed by 3 Sky Cloud Martial School female disciples. Ouyang squinted his eyes. "Late condensing reality realm. No wonder you are so arrogant. But it is still not enough. Your head senior sister Zhu Mei is qualified to talk to me on equal footing. Senior sister Zhu Mei is not here. Only I, Su Jing, am here." Su Jing was not very tall. Yichen estimated that she was about 1.7 meters. She was wearing a white dress and had a beautiful body. Her eyebrows were slightly curved, but her aura was not any weaker than Ouyang's. There was a kind of unique aggressiveness hidden in her aura. "Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to brother Ouyang like that?" The entrance of the Northwest Auction House was very wide. It was about 10 meters wide. The inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, who had just spoken, did not do anything. He pushed out his palm, and his zhenqi formed a huge red ring, covering Su Jing's body. "Piss off." Su Jing took a step forward, and the surrounding space seemed to vibrate, giving people the illusion that they could not stand steadily. Her blood and qi were boiling, and soon after, a thick and dazzling golden light gushed out, instantly shattering the giant red ring and causing the opponent to vomit blood. How could she be so powerful? They are both at the late condensing reality realm, but her opponent could not even withstand a single attack. He is not even qualified to be attacked by Sister Su Jing. Wu Zhongming saw that Su Jing took a step forward and broke her opponent's attack, causing him to puke out blood. He was shocked. Yichen was also a bit surprised. Su Jing, who had reached the late condensing reality realm, was even more powerful than he had imagined. The entrance was too eye-catching. The fight between the two attracted a lot of warriors. "Look, it's the Sky Cloud Martial School and the Purple Sun Martial School disciples. They are fighting. Little godly legs, Ouyang has failed again and again. How could he let it go? He will definitely find trouble with the owner of the Limitless Universe art. Unfortunately, there is no one among these Sky Cloud Martial School disciples who can control the situation. Not necessarily. That Sky Cloud Martial School female disciple just took a step and blew her opponent away. Ouyang did not make a move, otherwise it would be hard for her opponent to fight back. Other than the warriors who were attracted by the fight, the people of the Northwest Auction House also noticed the fight. Soon, the elder in yellow pushed through the crowd, walked over and said, "You guys, the Northwest Auction House does not allow fighting. Please give us some face, otherwise it will be hard to explain." Other than being an auctioneer, the elder in yellow was also an early clasping unravel warrior. As he spoke, he sent out a wave of zhenqi, forming an invisible qi wall. Ouyang knew that it would be hard to fight here, So he nodded and said with a smile, "Of course not. I just wanted to invite these few people for a drink. Since they are busy, I will not force them. Let's go." After the elder left, Su Jing said to Yi Chun and Wu Zongming, "It is not safe on the road. You guys should come with us." Once the owner left, the others had no reason to stay. Trouble solved, the elder in yellow smiled bitterly. Although martial school disciples were one of the most popular customers of the auction house, they were also the most troublesome ones. Chapter 92. On the Northwest Plain, 6 riders were running at full speed. "I can't believe that after a year, you have not only become an inner disciple, but also reached the mid-condensing reality realm." Su Jing, who was riding beside Yi Chun, said casually. Yi Chun said, "How can I compare to you, sister? I think even if Ouyang Ming were to fight you, he would not be able to win. I have no confidence against him. He is, after all, at the peak of the late condensing reality realm. He has more experience than me." Even Sister Zhu Mei said that he has hidden his strength well and has the ambition to challenge the 3 young masters. "Let's not talk about him. Your power should be higher than the mid-condensing reality realm. You are full of qi and blood, full of profound qi. This is a sign of having more than 10,000 pounds of strength." Su Jing could tell that Yi Chun was different at first glance. Yi Chun asked curiously, "How can you tell?" "This is a secret qi and blood circulation technique. It can tell if the opponent's qi and blood is strong or not. Normally, if one has more than 10,000 pounds of profound qi, then one would have more profound qi, and if one has more than 100,000 pounds of profound qi, then one would have more profound qi, which would be like a smoke signal, which would not be able to get close to it. Even without this technique, one could still sense it. There is such a thing? I am indeed ignorant." Yi Chun was shocked. 1,000,000 pounds of strength gathered on a small human body. How terrifying would that be? It would be enough to shatter everything in the world, pull up mountains, and pierce through the earth's crust. Su Jing said, "It is not that you are ignorant, but a lot of people do not know about this. I only read about it from an ancient scroll. It said that 10,000 years ago, there was a martial institution called the Vast Expanse Martial School. Everyone in the school trained their bodies. 10,000 pounds of strength would make you a servant disciple. 30,000 pounds of strength would make you an outer disciple. 50,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple. 80,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple. 200,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple. 300,000 pounds of strength would make you an outer master. And 300,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner master." Wu Zongming and the other female disciples were all fascinated by the story, but they were still doubtful. Is there really someone in this world who could train their strength to more than 500,000 pounds? Where's the Vast Expanse sect? Has it been destroyed? Yi Chun asked. Su Jing nodded. It seems that the heavens did not allow the Vast Expanse school to exist. In a single night, the school was razed to the ground, and someone found a dragon scale in the ruins. It was the size of a wash basin and could cut through iron like mud. It was incomparably sharp. Rumor has it that a divine dragon descended upon the world and destroyed the entire Vast Expanse School. That dragon scale was left behind after the Vast Expanse School's leader and several great elders fought against the divine dragon. Divine dragon? That's ridiculous. That is the legendary existence that surpasses the life and death realm. They are immortal and can roam the Taishu. A female disciple exclaimed. Su Jing narrowed her eyes. The world is so big that it is not something you can understand. Even those life and death realm warriors could not understand it, let alone us. Yi Chun smiled bitterly. With his strength, he was only a servant disciple in the Vast Expanse sect, not even an outer sect disciple. He really had no idea how the people in the Vast Expanse sect cultivated. Half a day passed by, and it was already noon. The few of them had already flown to the center of the Northwest Plains. As far as the eye could see, the sky and the plains formed a line. There was no end to it, and the white clouds were getting bigger and bigger until they reached the sky above their heads. There are horse hoofs. Yi Chun's ears twitched as he heard the sound. Su Jing nodded. It's earlier than I thought. Wu Zongming felt strange and asked, Senior sister, You know that someone is looking for trouble with us? Oh Yangming is inextricably linked to the bandits in the Northwest Plains. He often makes use of them to besiege and kill disciples from the sects that oppose him. This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. I just don't know which group of bandits came. Damn it, they are actually colluding with the horse bandits of the Northwest Plains. The three female disciples were furious. Su Jing looked at the large black dots that were gathering from all directions and said, "What's so strange about it? Everyone has their own way of doing things. Some are cunning and despicable, some are righteous, and some are cruel. There are too many of them. But as long as they have a clear mind and don't have any inner demons, anyone can cultivate to a very high level, and it has nothing to do with their character." What a brilliant idea. Yichen thought. The continuous horse hooves gradually became louder, and everyone could already see the clothes and faces of the horse bandits in front of them. "I said kill them, then you guys break out of here, and I will cover you," Su Jing said with a decisive tone. "Senior sister, cut the crap. There are clasping Yuan realm martial artists among them. We can't fight them." The horses were very fast, and within a few blinks of an eye, they had already arrived in front of everyone. There were more than 50 horse bandits, and 7 or 8 of them had strong Zhenqi vibrations. Obviously, they were late condensing reality realm martial artists. The leader had a face full of stubble, and his Zhenqi was condensed into a single point, which was extremely pure. He was definitely a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. When the horse bandits were only 30 steps away from them, Su Jing yelled, "Break through! Kill them!" "Shoo!" As she yelled, Su Jing's body turned into a golden light. Ignoring the distance of 30 steps, she punched 2 late condensing reality realm martial artists in the chest. Yichen's speed was not slow at all. He pushed his crane shadow steps to its limit, and his whole body had already disappeared into the air. After that, a late condensing reality realm horse bandit's head exploded, turning into a blood mist. Wu Zongming and the 3 female disciples knew that they were not as powerful as the others, so they gathered together and tried their best to break through to the west. The leader of the horse bandits saw that 3 of his subordinates had died in the blink of an eye. He roared and jumped towards Su Jing. His thick Zhenqi had shaved off a layer of the ground, and he moved at lightning speed. Monster-killing fist, shaking the heavens and earth. Su Jing did not back off. Her 2 fists were like a giant devil splitting a mountain, and she faced the leader of the horse bandits head-on. Puff, puff, puff. This time, the surrounding horse bandits suffered greatly. They were all blown away by the shockwave, puking out a huge mouthful of blood in the air. Taking 3 steps back, Su Jing looked calm, but her movements were wild. Her white robe fluttered in the wind as she charged towards the leader of the horse bandits again, throwing out a powerful punch. On the other side, Yichun was surrounded by 3 late condensing reality realm horse bandits. Little brat, go to hell. Kill the wolf. Flash spear, ghost cry, and wolf howl. The 3 of them each used their unique attacks. They wanted to kill Yichun together. Yichun's body blurred. He casually flashed and dodged the attacks of the 3 bandits. In the middle of the attack, Yichun's Zhenqi increased infinitely. He threw out a punch from the side. Tyrannical rampage. The power of the punch tore the ground apart. It gathered a huge wave of dirt and rushed out. Boom! The ground exploded. The late condensing reality realm horse bandit was blown into pieces, his blood and flesh flying everywhere. This kid is hard to deal with. Archers, get ready. As the order was given, arrows were shot towards Yichun like rain, locking down the huge space. Ding, ding, ding. Unfortunately, Yichun's body was covered in a jade-like luster. Once the arrows touched him, they were broken into 2 pieces and bounced off. Chapter 93. Clang. Facing the rain of arrows, with a few late condensing reality realm warriors glaring at him, Yichun did not dare to take it lightly. He immediately pulled out his hidden cloud sword. The pure Jun Jinqi had a great effect on the sword art. Once Yichun threw out a sword attack, the snow-white sword light looked like a blooming lotus flower. The sharp light shot out in all directions, slicing the ground around Yi Chun into pieces. At the same time, numerous mountain-like silhouettes appeared within the sword light. They were extremely sharp and powerful. Combining the two together, it looked a bit like the legendary Blade Mountain. Condensed sword chi. Yi Chun swung the sword straight out. The sword light was compressed infinitely and turned into a thick sword chi. Because of its high speed, the air was cut open like water ripples, and a natural yuan chi was disrupted. In the eyes of the crowd, this was not a sword chi at all. It was clearly a mountain. They suddenly felt that it was unstoppable, and their momentum was weakened by 80%. Swoosh! The flat ground was split open, and the horse bandits in the vicinity of this line were either split into two halves or crushed into a bloody mist by the aftermath of the sword chi, leaving nothing behind. Then, the sword chi's momentum did not diminish, and it slashed towards the leader of the horse bandits who was suppressing Su Jing. Sword chi. The horse bandit leader sensed the change and looked over. He was shocked. A mid-condensing reality realm warrior could actually release sword chi. Wasn't that something only clasping Yuan realm swordsmen could do? Moreover, this sword chi was not an ordinary sword chi. It contained the mentality of a mountain, which could crush and suppress everything. It was almost at the edge of the sword intent, and was only one step away from the supreme sword intent. After exchanging more than 10 moves, Su Jing was gradually suppressed by the horse bandit leader. However, she had also figured out his martial arts patterns. If she was not mistaken, this horse bandit leader should be one of the top horse bandit leaders in the Northwest Plain. His name was Chi Kuei, and he had reached the clasping Yuan realm a few years ago. His moves were very powerful. If she was not strong enough, she might not even be able to take 3 of his punches. After fighting for a while, Su Jing noticed that her opponent's attention had shifted, and she couldn't help but look over as well. In her line of sight, Yi Chun, who was dressed in a white robe, was like a towering mountain. He was clearly right in front of her, but he gave off the illusion that he was far away. This junior brother of mine is really amazing. There's the aura of Tao in his sword technique. As long as he is given time, he will definitely become a peerless swordsman in the future. Laughing out loud, Chi Kuei withdrew his left hand and threw out a punch, while saying, "No matter how talented you are only a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. What can you do to me?" Mountain crashing fist break. Kacha. The artistic conception in the sword chi was the first to be broken. Then, the sword chi collapsed and disappeared. However, Chi Kuei's body also stiffened. Strands of sword chi flowed up along his arm, wanting to injure his foundation. Only after separating a portion of his true chi could he eliminate the threat of the sword chi. Su Jing understood what Yi Chen meant. He wanted to help her escape. With that thought in mind, all of her Zhen Qi started to burn like fire. 2 illusory golden flame rings appeared behind her head, one big and one small. Low-rank Earth Realm Art, Golden 3 Realm Art. Yi Chun could tell that Su Jing had trained a low-rank Earth Realm Art, Golden 3 Realm Art. This art was extremely powerful. The 7th stage was called the Shocking Sky, the 8th stage was called the Extreme Void Sky, and the 9th stage was called the Skytop Sky. When the 3 stages combined, it could suppress everything and was unstoppable. However, Su Jing had obviously trained it to the 8th stage, the Extreme Void Sky. When the 2 stages combined, her power suddenly increased. With a single punch, Chi Kuei was forced to take 4 steps back. Open. Not in the mood to fight anymore. Su Jing just charged forward. The burning golden Zhen Qi instantly pushed away the people who were in her way. She did not even care about her horse. She flew towards Wu Zongming and the other 3. Yichen did not stop her either. He turned around and threw out 13 sword attacks. Streams of mountain-like sword chi flew towards Chi Kuei, who was chasing after him. His feet did not even touch the ground as he flew backwards. With the help of Su Jing and Yi Chun, Wu Zongming and the other 3 finally got out of the encirclement. For horses and 2 people, their speed increased to the limit. Like lightning, they gradually disappeared into the distance. Damn this brat. Chi Kuei was furious. He stomped on the ground, causing it to shake continuously. He threw out a series of punches, which turned into countless fist shadows that shattered the mountain-like sword chi. "Brother, what do we do now?" A leader of the horse gang could not help but ask with red eyes. Chi Kuei calmed down his boiling blood and tried to suppress his unstable emotions. He asked, "How many brothers did we lose?" 23 in total. Besides me, all the other leaders were killed. 6 late condensing reality realm warriors were all killed. I am so angry. Chi Kuei's eyes were wide open and bloodshot. Although there were only about 50 people in this bandit group, every one of them was a veteran of hundreds of battles, especially those 6 small leaders who had followed him to roam the Northwest Plains for several years. They were the foundation that he relied on. He never thought that they would all die in this battle. For a moment, his heart was bleeding. "Brother, I have told you before, don't hang out with Ouyang brother. They are both core disciples of the martial school. They have powerful people behind them. Although they give us a lot of gold and treasures every time, we are risking our lives for them. But they don't even need to do anything, yet they get the biggest share. I know about this." Chi Kuei was indeed the leader of a horse gang. Although he was angry, he still had some calmness in his heart. He said, "We have already offended the Sky Cloud Martial School. We cannot have another conflict with the Purple Sun Martial School. Let avoid contact with Ouyang brother from now on. Right now, let's leave the Northwest Plain and go out to recruit people, hoping to make a comeback." "You are right, brother." After fighting their way out of the encirclement, Yi Chun and Wu Zoming rode on one horse, while Su Jing and one of the female disciples rode on the other. Taking out a mysterious green pellet and throwing it to Yi Chun, Su Jing said, "The rest of the journey will inevitably be dangerous. This is a mysterious recovering pellet. It can help you recover your lost Jin Qi." Yi Chun had heard about the mysterious recovering pellet before. It cost 3,000 gold for one pellet, and it could recover Jin Qi 10 times faster than usual. It was a necessity for high-level warriors. With just a glance, Yi Chun picked up the pellet and swallowed it. He then started to use his pure Jun Jin Qi to refine the pellet. In his dantian, the almost dried-up Jun Qi whirlpool was helped by the mysterious recovering pellet. Jun Qi continuously poured out, flowing into all the meridians in his body. Before, he first threw out the Tyrant Fist art. Then he used the Lone Peak of 13 swords. He used the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak of 13 swords to create a sword chi that consumed a lot of Jin Qi. Although it was powerful, it could not last long. It was far weaker than a clasping Yuan Realm Warrior. After all, a mid-condensing reality Realm Warrior was still too low. After 7 days, the group of 6 returned to the Sky Cloud Martial School in the Windy Mountain. The next half a month was no different than before. Training, doing missions, and so on. Inadvertently, Yi Chun heard the news brought back by a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School who had participated in the auction. The North Snow Fast Blade Lynch had safely returned to the North Snow Martial Academy. It was said that someone had seen the old man in gray, Dao So, in a very bad shape, with one of his arms broken. Chapter 94. The sea of clouds was rolling, the wind was blowing. "You really want me to fight you with all my power?" On a remote cliff, Su Jing, who was dressed in white, stood there. She was not tall, nor did she have a burly figure. She even looked a little delicate. However, no matter how strong the wind was, it could not shake her in the slightest. She was like a statue that had not fallen for thousands of years. Yi Chun nodded. "I have trained a martial art, and it needs a lot of pressure to improve. So I want to use your help to train." What he was talking about was the pure Jade body boosting spell. He had trained this martial art to the peak of the 3rd level a long time ago, but he had not been able to break through to the 4th level. He had been thinking about it these days, and realized that it would be very difficult for him to reach the 4th level by himself. Only by using other people's power to stimulate his own potential could he achieve it in a short period of time. If that is the case, then I will not hold back. Su Jing could tell that Yi Chun was serious. Although she was curious about what kind of martial art he had trained, she was not a talkative person. She would not ask what she should not ask. Cross the sea to kill the devil. Su Jing took a step forward with her right foot, all the rocks within a few meters radius floated into the air. She did not seem to be very fast, but she had already arrived in front of Yichun. She threw out a punch with a strong golden light. Yichun could feel the explosive power contained in this punch. He did not dare to waste any time. He pushed the pure jade body-boosting spell with all his power. A layer of jade-like luster appeared on his skin. His body shook, and his Zhun Qi was pushed to the limit. He threw out a punch as well. Chin! The two fists collided, and a strong shockwave spread out. A few huge black cracks appeared on the ground like snakes, spreading everywhere. So it really is more than 10,000 pounds of power. Because Yichun did not use any martial arts, his arm was numb, and his vision blurred. He almost fainted. Su Jing did not intend to hold back. She missed the first punch, but the second one followed. Destroy the mountain and flip the sea. That intense golden light, along with the sound of tsunami, attacked towards Yichun's temple from the left side. The fist power hadn't arrived yet, but the fist wind had already arrived. It was like a lightning bolt and was as heavy as a mountain. Bang! Yichun stretched out his hand to block the punch. His left fist drilled out from his waist and began to counterattack. All right, I'm going to use the power of the 7th level of the Golden Three Realms art. After repelling Yichun's fist energy with a single punch, an illusory golden ring of fire appeared behind Su Jing's head. Her entire body was burning with golden Jin Qi. Combined with her strength of over 10,000 Jin, she would be able to kill anyone who stood in her way. Yichun did not retreat nor evade. He laughed loudly and said, "Senior sister, go ahead and make your move." A cold glint flickered in Su Jing's eyes. With a twist of her feet, the surface of the cliff cracked. Soon after, her two fists, one on the left and one on the right, struck out, using the move she used to deal with Chi Kuei. Kachak! The jade-like luster on the surface of Yichun's body collapsed and was annihilated. His tall and straight body that was as steady as a mountain took 10 steps back, and every step he took was extremely heavy and emitted thumping sounds. All right, again. Activating the pure jade body-boosting spell again, Yichun didn't care about the taste of blood in his throat. He rushed towards Su Jing. Back off. This fight was to help Yichun break through. There was no need for any fancy moves, only a solid head-on collision. Therefore, Su Jing threw out another punch, which once again made Yichun take 10 steps back. Again. Boom. Again. Towards the end, Yichun's 7 orifices began to bleed. The jade-like luster on the surface of his body became dim and looked like it would disappear at any time. However, the more it was like this, the more intense Yichun's fighting spirit became. His whole body was filled with profound qi, and even the mountain wind could not extinguish it. His tall and straight body was unyielding, as straight as a javelin, extremely sharp. It was like a piece of rough metal. After being polished thousands of times, it burst out with a sharpness that could pierce through gold and stone. Su Jing was shocked. What kind of martial art did Yichun train? Without using any martial skills, he could take more than 10 punches from her without falling down. Instead, it seemed like he was going to be reborn. Besides that, his fighting spirit really did look like a peerless swordsman. Knowing that it was not enough, the golden Jin Qi around Su Jing's body grew even stronger, and a bigger halo appeared behind her head. It was the sign of the 8th stage of the Golden Three Realm art, the extreme Taiji. With a punch, the mountain wind stopped, and the air was still. Only the cliff could not handle the power, and started to shake. Demons fall. Although the monster-killing fist art was a top-rank mortal realm martial skill, the power of the last movement was already extremely close to a low-rank earth realm martial skill. However, it was also quite troublesome to perform. Yichun had to push his Golden Three Realm art to the 8th stage before he could use it. Otherwise, he would have to bear the huge counterforce and get slightly injured. It was similar to Yichun's Tyrant Fist art, but not as crazy. The golden light was like a waterfall with a power that could pierce through a mountain. It flew towards Yichun. Pooh! The jade-like luster could not even last for a second and was instantly destroyed. Yichen could only feel that the clouds on both sides were moving forward quickly. He felt something sweet in his throat, and a huge amount of blood spurted out, turning into a blood mist. The fast-moving clouds stopped moving, and Yichen's whole body was sunk into the mountain behind him. He could not even move a finger, and he felt weak and dizzy. With a bitter smile, Yichen said weakly, "Senior sister, are you trying to kill me? Stubborn diseases need strong medicine to cure them. It will save you a lot of trouble." Walking in front of Yichen, Su Jing opened Yichen's jaw and threw a dark red pellet into his mouth. She said, "This is the body refining pellet that I usually use to train my strength. It is very effective. You don't need to move for now, in case you hurt your muscles and bones, and leave behind future problems." Yichen did not hear the last few words. Once the body refining pellet entered his throat, it turned into liquid and flowed down. With his stomach as the center, the medicinal power gradually spread to his internal organs, all the meridians in his body, and finally into his bones, continuously forcing out the impurities. Black impurities oozed out from the surface of Yichen's body, and the stench was overwhelming. Not knowing how long had passed, Yichen slowly opened his eyes. His bright eyes were like cold lightning, and also like the light of a sword, sharp and penetrating. "So smelly. Let's go back and wash up." She pressed her white and slim palm on the mountain and pushed out her hidden power, shaking Yichen out. Smelling himself, it was indeed smelly. Yichen said embarrassedly, "Thank you for your help, senior sister. If you need anything in the future, Yichen will definitely not decline. Let's go. You want to kill me with the stench." Su Jing said expressionlessly. A week had passed. That night, Yichen sat on his bed with his legs crossed, continuously practicing the pure jade body boosting spell. The jade-like luster on the surface of his body was flickering. Sometimes it was bright. Sometimes it was like his whole body was made of jade. Sometimes it was dim, like a rock. "Ha!" A light, almost inaudible sound was heard as the jade-like luster shattered inch by inch, merging back into Yichen's body. Then he spat it out, giving off a cold white light. It looked countless times tougher than before, giving off a diamond-like feeling. At this moment, the fourth spell of the pure jade body boosting spell, Broken Jade Rebirth, was completed. Chapter 95. Opening his eyes, Yichen jumped off the bed and performed a set of King Kong fist without using his Jin Qi. The wind from the punch whistled through the room, causing the furniture and the wooden windows in the room to make rattling sounds. Finally, they broke into pieces and scattered all over the floor. "Wow, my strength has increased by 5,000 pounds and reached 20,000 pounds. Yichen immediately felt the great increase in his physical strength. He seemed to have endless energy and could kill 5 water buffaloes in a row with one punch. Qi power was not like Jin Qi, which was limited by the limits of the human body and would grow very slowly. It would already be amazing for a martial artist to reach 20,000 pounds. Even clasping Yuan realm martial artists did not have such a powerful body, unless they had also trained a body-strengthening martial art. Senior sister Su Jing must have used 70 to 80% of her strength that day. Otherwise, her last punch could have killed me. Thinking of the power of the Golden 3 Realm art and the monster-killing fist art, Yichen knew his limits and did not think that his opponent had used her full strength. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, the sun was high up in the sky. Stepping on the sunlight, Yichen arrived at the floating cloud palace. The palace was empty. There were only 3 or 4 people choosing missions. It was very quiet. Walking to the gray jade wall, Yichen looked at it and fixed his eyes on the last mission in the first row. It seemed to be newly posted. Mission: go to the ancient water lake and help the Chu family find the lost ship. Details: there is a dangerous place in the ancient water lake called the 9 Bends and 18 Bends. There are many demonic beasts in the water, and it is accompanied by underwater whirlpools. It is extremely dangerous. Mission difficulty: 5-star gray level. Mission reward: 120,000 gold. The ancient water lake. Isn't that in the extreme north of the Windy Nation? It is so far away from here. Yichen had heard of the name of the ancient water lake. It was said that this lake had existed for 3,000 years. In the early days, it was just a small lake. Later, there was a big earthquake, and everything within thousands of miles sank into the ground. After 3,000 years of irrigation, it became the ancient water lake today. In the early days, the ancient water lake was not dangerous, but the current ancient water lake was extremely dangerous. It seemed that the earthquake had released the ancient demonic beasts underground, which had occupied the entire ancient water lake, causing some fish and prawns that were not demonic beasts to mutate and become one of the demonic beasts. In the middle of the ancient water lake, there was a large island named Pan-Shan Island. There was a clan living on the island. It was the Chu clan that issued the mission. The Chu clan had a long history. 3,000 years ago, they lived on Pan-Shan Island. Even though they knew that there were many demonic beasts in the ancient water lake, they had never thought of leaving and had always lived there. On the other hand, there would occasionally be some geniuses who were unwilling to be left out of the limelight. They would leave the ancient water lake and come to the bustling area, making a name for themselves. It was said that the Emerald Martial Palace had an inner disciple who came from the Chu family of the Pan-Shan Island. Without thinking too much about it, Yi Chun tore off the mission slip and left the soaring cloud hall. At the foot of the mountain, a rider was galloping towards the north. 8 days later, Yi Chun came to the vicinity of the vast ancient water lake. Coincidentally, there was a small rundown restaurant on the shore, with 4 large black words written on the plaque with peeling paint. Ancient Water Restaurant. Getting off the horse, Yi Chun patted the horse's head. It took me 8 days to get here. I should replace you when I get back. You will suffer if you follow me anyway. It was shameful to waste time. The dark brown horse was reliable in the early stages, but in the later stages, it was powerless. 2,000 miles a day was of no use at all. Even if they rushed through the night, they would only be able to travel 3,000 miles a day. Yi Chun planned to go back and get a half-demon horse, the ghost-eyed jade lion, which could travel 3,300 miles a day. If they rushed through the night, 5,000 miles would not be a problem. The most important thing was that the half-demon horse had a strong physical strength. It could run continuously for 3 days and 3 nights without rest. After that, it only needed to rest for a night, and it would be full of energy again. Young warrior, you're going to the ancient water lake, right? Why don't you come in and take a rest? The waiter saw a guest and greeted him enthusiastically. Yi Chun nodded. Take care of my horse. All right, this way, please. The restaurant was more dilapidated than he had imagined. The walls were mottled, the tables were rough and uneven, and even the chairs were pieced together. It looked very shabby. Choosing a chair that was pleasing to the eye, Yi Chun sat down and ordered a few dishes. While he was eating, the sound of horse hooves unexpectedly came from outside the restaurant. Good luck today, another guest. The waiter immediately became energetic. After a while, a young man dressed in green walked in. Seeing Yi Chun, the young man in green frowned. You are an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Are you going to the ancient water lake Pan-Shan Island? Yes. Yi Chun could tell that the young man was an inner disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace. Then you don't need to go. The Chu family's business should be handled by the Chu family. Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. You are a disciple of the Chu family. The 166th generation disciple of the Chu family, Chu Ming. The young man in green sat down at a table opposite to Yi Chun. Sorry, since I have accepted the task, I will try my best. Yi Chun did not intend to give up the task. Chu Ming sneered. I am reminding you that there is no boat to cross the ancient water lake. It is 450 miles of waterway from here to the Pan-Shan Island. If you're not careful, you will be dragged into the water by the beasts and die without a whole body. Moreover, the 9 twists and 18 turns are even more dangerous. Everything is dangerous. How can you achieve great things by being timid? The two did not have any conflict. After all, not every disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace was arrogant and annoying. On the shore of the ancient water lake, the lake water was surging and sparkling. At a glance, the sky and the water were like a line. Chu Ming glanced at Yi Chun and took out a waist-thick, 1-meter-long piece of wood from his storage ring. The wood was shot more than a dozen feet away, drawing a white watermark on the lake. It was extremely fast, but Chu Ming was even faster. He didn't make any movements, but he was faster. Before the wood fell into the water, he had already stepped on it. He rode on the wood as if it was nothing, and after a while, he became a small, using a piece of wood as a boat. Yichen nodded and looked around. Soon, he found a small forest hundreds of meters away, in which there were many 3 to 4 meters tall trees. A sword light flashed, and a big tree fell down. Yichen was afraid of being attacked by beasts on the way, so he cut a dozen more pieces of wood. Each piece was the same thickness and weighed hundreds of pounds. Coming to the shore, Yi Chan did the same thing, threw the wood out, and stood on it. The scenery on both sides quickly passed by. Yi Chen felt that he had never been so happy before. For a moment, he felt that the sky was high and the earth was wide. He was like a bird, free and unrestrained. The wood had lost its momentum. Yi Chen activated his Zhen Qi and spurted it out from the back of the wood, becoming the source of power. Whoosh! Whoosh! Although he did not catch up with Chu Ming, his speed was not slow. In addition, it was good to step on the wood and enjoy the scenery of the lake. After walking for dozens of miles, under the water behind the log, a huge shadow was following them silently. Chapter 96. The ancient water lake is indeed full of dangers. Yichen looked at the surface of the water in front of him and heard the rapid sound of water splashing. Many shuttle-like strange fish swooped up. The strange fish was more than 3 feet long, and its entire body was covered in dark green scales. Its pectoral and pelvic fins were very long and wide, like the wings of a bird. They flapped violently as it flew at an extremely fast speed. Chi-chi, chi-chi-chi. While flying, the fish opened its mouth and shot out 2-inch-long venomous stingers, covering the entire area. Although Yi Chun did not know what kind of fish it was, he knew that its poisonous stingers were not to be underestimated. Who knew if it could kill a condensing reality realm warrior within a second? Of course, after reaching the 4th stage of the pure jade body boosting spell, the poisonous stingers would not be able to penetrate his defense. However, Yichen did not plan to be passive. Activating his protective aura, he shattered the densely packed poisonous thorns. Clang! The hidden cloud sword was unsheathed and flashed 4 times in the air. The next moment, 4 cross-shaped sword lights shot out and sliced the school of strange fish into pieces. Blood rained everywhere. Before the previous wave subsided, another wave arose. Suddenly, a huge wave rose behind him. In the wave, a huge monster snake was faintly discernible. Its demonic aura soared into the sky, stirring up vortexes one after another. This time, Yi Chun recognized the species of this strange snake. It was a peak level 4 demonic beast, water-splitting python. It was extremely strong and had the innate ability to call the wind and summon the rain. In addition to the demonic beast's inner Dan, it could also form a water-splitting Dan. If a martial artist wore it on their body and used their Zhen Qi to stimulate it, it would be enough to double their speed in water. It was a rare treasure. Hiss! The anaconda opened its bloody mouth and shot out a thick pillar of grayish-white water. Yi Chen's brows slightly wrinkled. He waved the hidden cloud sword in his hand, and a clear sword mark appeared in the air. Then, a condensed sword light flew out. Walala! The water column exploded, and it started to rain heavily. Yi Chen stood still. Before the raindrops could even come within 3 feet of him, they were sliced into nothingness by the protective aura. Seeing that the water column could not do anything to Yi Chun, the anaconda looked up to the sky and hissed. The ferocious demon aura rushed up to the sky, causing a drastic change in the chi of heaven and earth. Large dark clouds suddenly gathered in the low sky. It was so dark that it made people panic. At the same time, a strong wind blew above the ancient water lake, and the undercurrent surged, stirring up waves after waves. A normal peak level 4 demonic beast shouldn't be this strong. Could it be that this anaconda has the bloodline of an ancient demonic beast? That would be surprising. As far as Yi Chen knew, it was true that a peak level 4 demonic beast could summon a gale. However, It was very difficult to cause a small-scale change in the sky. It was almost impossible. Only a level 5 demonic beast could cause such a big movement. The wood under his feet moved up and down in the undercurrent. Yichin snorted coldly, raised his right foot, and stomped down. Buzz! Ripples spread out one after another, and the surface of the water within a radius of 100 feet calmed down. Abruptly, the anaconda let out a miserable howl, and its huge body was thrown up as if it had suffered a heavy blow. After a few blinks of an eye, the anaconda's wriggling body returned to the surface of the water, but it was not hurt. Instead, it became extremely angry. Its long body rolled and slapped, and its 4 to 5 feet long tail broke through the water waves, violently whipping towards Yichun, leaving a series of afterimages. Yichin's expression was completely dignified. In addition to stabilizing the wood with his foot, he also used the secret skill he got from the Bloody Butcher, Earth Explosion and Sky Shock. The hidden force quietly attacked the anaconda from the bottom of the water. He thought that even if he could not kill it, he could at least injure it a little and make it retreat. But now it seemed that the power of Earth Explosion and Sky Shock could not break its defense at all. The tail, which was as thick as a water tank, whipped over. The sharp airflow was like a knife. Without thinking, Yichun jumped up into the air. Crack! Like a stick hitting tofu, the wood was instantly smashed into pieces. In the air, Yichun took a deep breath, waved the hidden cloud sword in his hand 4 times, and 4 mountain-like sword chi slashed down, respectively locking on the anaconda's head, neck, abdomen, and tail. Clang! 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 Except for the tail, the other 3 parts were all hit. But even with the sharpness of the sword chi, it could only break the snake's scales and barely reached its insides. Gray-red blood suddenly dyed the surface of the lake red, spreading out like ink. The anaconda was really in pain this time. It looked up to the sky and hissed, and its gray-green eyes turned scarlet, looking strange and cruel. It opened its bloody mouth, and a whirlpool gathered in its throat. Then a half-meter thick spiral water column rushed out and compressed again in the middle, becoming as thick as a thigh, and shot towards Yichun like a laser. Not good. This beast is too strong. I can't do anything to it. Yichun's expression changed. The thigh-thick spiral water column was too fast, and he couldn't borrow any momentum in the air, so he had no time to dodge. He could only throw a punch at the water column. In the sky-shaking sound, a huge semicircle was formed on the surface of the lake, about 10 meters deep. Compared to it, Yichun's body was like a slightly bigger insect, so small. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and Yichun was slightly injured. The anaconda was not much better. Its huge body rolled a few times in the water, and it was dizzy. It couldn't send out a second spiral water column. I'll take the parting water pill next time. I should go to Panshan Island first. After making up his mind, Yichun didn't want to continue fighting with the anaconda. He stepped back, and the rainwater in the air bent into an amazing arc like a pulled bowstring. Of course, this was not a bowstring, but the rainwater that Yichun condensed and turned into something that could be borrowed to increase the initial momentum. Swoosh! With his arms wide open, Yichun was like a white crane, and in a flash, he left the area and swept towards the center of the ancient water lake. After half a day, Yichun, who had been traveling for a long time, finally saw a huge island. The island was circular, and there were winding roads around it. On the top of the island, other than a mountain, there was a continuous ancient building complex. With a bitter smile, Yichun said to himself, Chu Ming should have arrived long ago. After all, he is more familiar with the ancient water lake than I am, and could avoid some dangers in advance. Shaking his head, Yichun activated his chi, and the wood under his feet moved forward at a faster speed. On the island, Yichun didn't fly up the mountain directly, because that was not a polite behavior. Following the path, Yichun came to the main road of Panshan, where there were 4 men guarding. Who are you? The yellow-faced man shouted coldly. Yichun cupped his fists and said, You guys, I am an inner disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect, and I am here for a mission. What proof do you have? The man asked. Yichun thought of the inner disciple token and quickly took it out and threw it into the man's hand. The man carefully looked at it, and after confirming that there was no mistake, he returned the token and politely said, "I have offended you just now. Hero Yi, please follow me up the mountain." Yichen nodded and followed behind. Chapter 97. The coiling mountain avenue was clearly 10,000 feet long, but now it was stretched to hundreds of thousands of feet. According to the yellow-faced man, no matter who it was, if they wanted to reach the top of the mountain, they had to walk along the coiling mountain avenue. As for why, the yellow-faced man didn't know. Perhaps it was a custom that had been passed down for thousands of years. With their amazing speed, they arrived at the top of the mountain in less than half an hour. As far as the eye could see, the flat mountaintop was covered with ancient buildings. Behind the buildings, there was a small green mountain that was less than 100 feet high. A beautiful waterfall fell straight down into the small pond in the middle of the buildings, splashing water everywhere. What a beautiful place! Yichun was secretly amazed. He was used to seeing big cities and mountains. Now that he was on this island, he felt refreshed. Walking along the ancient stone road, Yichun followed the man with a yellow face to the big house in the middle of the buildings. Master, the person outside, is an inner disciple of the sky, cloud martial school. The man with a yellow face said loudly, "Let him in." An old voice came out. Hearing this, Yichun stepped into the hall of the house. An old man in his 70s was sitting in the main seat of the hall. His skin was yellow like the man, with a yellow face, but it did not look like he was malnourished. It seemed like he was born this way. Sitting next to him was a young man in green. It was Chu Ming who had arrived before Yichun. Chu Ming saw that Yichun could come to the Panshan Island. He was a little surprised. Walking to the center of the hall, Yichun cupped his fists. "I am Yichun, an inner disciple of the sky, cloud martial school." "Nice to meet you, Master Chu." The old man nodded. "You received a mission and came here, right?" "Yes." "That's good. With two disciples, we have a better chance of finding the lost ship." Yichun will try his best. While talking, Yichun was confused. He carefully sensed the old man's cultivation level and found that he was only at mortal realm stage 7. He could not help but ask, "Master Chu, on the way here I noticed that all the people in the Chu family are below the condensing reality realm. What is going on?" He didn't think that a family couldn't produce a condensing reality realm warrior. Chu Ming was a good example. In the future, he might also step into the clasping Yuan realm and become a martial artist. The old man sighed. "Find a seat first." Yichun sat on the chair opposite Chu Ming, wanted to hear what he had to say. "It's not that our Chu family doesn't have any condensing reality realm warriors. It's just that we don't have any condensing reality realm warriors. Any warrior who has reached the condensing reality realm, if they stay on Panshan Island for more than 3 months, would suddenly meet with an unexpected calamity, or be attacked by demonic beasts, or become possessed by evil spirits, and disappear without a trace. Therefore, when Chu Ming reached the condensing reality realm, I asked him to leave Panshan Island." The elders said slowly, "There's such a thing?" Yichun gasped. Chu Ming said lightly, "That's true. 15 years ago, my father died of chi deviation without any warning." The hall was silent for a moment. Yichun said again, "Then why didn't the whole family leave Panshan Island? The outside world is so big. There would be a place for the Chu family." The story starts from 3,000 years ago. At that time, the ancient water lake was not called the ancient water lake. It was called the Green Lake. Our Chu family lived on the shore of the Green Lake. There was no Panshan Island. However, ever since one of our clansmen found an ancient object in a cave at the bottom of the Green Lake, things changed. First, there was a huge earthquake in a radius of 1,000 miles, causing the terrain to change, forming a huge crater. Then, there was a thunderstorm that lasted for 3 months, almost completely submerging the Chu clan and everything around it. On the brink of life and death, an island descended from the sky, suppressing the cave at the bottom of the Green Lake. Our Chu clan's ancestors believed that the gods were merciful and gave the Chu clan a way out. Thus, the entire clan moved to the island. This island is today's Panshan Island. After recalling for a while, the old man continued, But things are not so simple. After moving to Panshan Island, all the warriors above the mortal realm died one by one within 3 months. At that time, the patriarch with the highest cultivation level, the ancestor of our Chu family, finally said some information before he died. What did he say? Yi Chun found himself deeply attracted. The old man used all the strength in his body and said word by word, "Devil, curse," just these 4 words. Devil, curse. Yi Chun suddenly felt a tingling sensation on his back. The pores on his body stood up. These 4 words seemed to have a great magical power. Even saying it out loud was enough to make people tremble. Chu Ming's face was also not looking good. Every time he heard these 4 words, he would feel a kind of fear deeply imprinted in his blood, unable to get rid of, unable to forget. The old man smiled bitterly. Is it very scary? Yi Chun did not try to be brave. He nodded and said yes. When I first heard these 4 words, I was even more afraid than you were. I couldn't sleep for a month. I always felt like there were shadows around me, like there were ghosts roaring. But then I became numb, because as long as we don't reach the condensing reality realm, we Chu family are still normal people. We won't die for no reason. Hearing this, Yi Chun looked at the old man again. The old man had not explained his previous doubts. The old man continued. It's not that we didn't think about moving the whole family. It's just that we couldn't do it. Before the ancestor died, he told everyone to leave Panshan Island, not to stay here. The others all obeyed, and were divided into 3 groups, ready to leave one by one. But what made people desperate was that only one of the first groups survived. The others also suddenly met with an unexpected disaster, and it was even more terrible than those who died on Panshan Island. The only survivor was scared out of his wits, and after returning to Panshan Island, he died within 3 years. Couldn't leave Panshan Island? But what happened to Chu Ming? No, only one of the first group survived. Although he died later, it was due to a mental breakdown. It should have nothing to do with the curse. In other words, only one person could leave Panshan Island safely and not be threatened by the curse. This could be explained as there were 50 ways of living, 49 ways of living. If a person escaped, the heavens would always leave a chance of survival, not to mention an entire family, hundreds of thousands of people. At that moment, countless thoughts flashed through Yi Chun's mind. After a few decades, some of the younger generation of the family didn't believe it and prepared to move again, but the number of people was much smaller, only a few dozen. Without exception, as long as one left Panshan Island for 500 miles, only one survived, the others all died tragically. No one could explain why. The old man's voice sounded a little tired. Yi Chun more or less understood the ins and outs of the whole thing, but he didn't think that such a beautiful place could have such a terrible thing. An underwater cave, an island that fell from the sky, a cursed family, the whole thing was too horrifying and impossible to explain. Perhaps when he reached a certain level, he would be able to solve this mystery. Now, he didn't dare to act rashly, for fear of being infected by the curse of Panshan Island. At that time, he really wouldn't be able to leave Panshan Island, unless he killed Chu Ming. But he and Chu Ming weren't from the same family. Even if he killed Chu Ming, he wouldn't be able to leave Panshan Island, unless he killed Chu Ming. Chapter 98. Just as Yi Chun was lost in his thoughts, the elder looked at him and said, "If there is nothing else, can we go to the 9 bins and 18 bins to look for the lost ship? My granddaughter is still on the ship. It has been half a month. Although there is enough food on the ship, accidents are inevitable." Chu Ming stood up and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa. Leave it to me. I will definitely bring Xianing back. Since there are people on the ship, let's go now." Yi Chun also stood up. The elder nodded and said, "I will go with you. The ironwood ship is ready." On the northwest coast of Panshan Island, a 15 meters long and 3 meters wide black wooden ship was docked there. Its surface was glowing with a faint metallic luster. Yi Chun knew that this was the ironwood ship. It was made of ironwood, which was comparable to metal. Needless to say, it was hard enough to withstand a full blow from a mortal realm warrior. It was also very flexible, able to move quickly in big waves without worrying about the hull breaking. "Master, 12 mortal realm, stage, 9 warriors of the Chu family stood in a row and said in unison. The elder waved his hand and said, "You all know Chu Ming. This is the inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chun. He will go with us to the 9 bends and 18 bends to rescue Xianing." After saying that, he turned to Yi Chun and Chu Ming and said, "They are not as strong as you two, but they are good swimmers. They can hold their breath underwater for 15 minutes. Yi Chun was a little surprised. With his current cultivation, holding his breath underwater for 15 minutes was not difficult, but these 12 people were only at Mortal Realm Stage 9. The closer they got to the 9 bends and 18 bends, the faster the current became. Waves after waves of water hit the side of the ironwood ship, making loud banging sounds. Inside the cabin, the old man said, "The 9 bends and 18 bends are very complicated with countless whirlpools. Without exquisite rowing skills, it is impossible to pass through. If there are no accidents, this old man's granddaughter should be trapped in the first half of the 9 bends and 18 bends. There is a small mountain there, and the mountain and the lake have formed a flat beach for the boat to dock. What you need to do is very simple. Kill any demonic beasts that come close to prevent the boat from being pushed off course." Yi Chun said, "That's very simple. I can use my lightness skill to fly over, and I'll be able to find the lost ship and your granddaughter very quickly." The old man shook his head. The truly terrifying part of the 9 bends and 18 bends is not the flow of water or the demon beasts, but the thick fog. If one were to enter it alone, it would be very easy to get lost and not be able to come out for a lifetime. Only by following the changes in the flow of water would one be able to find a way out. "I see." Yi Chun nodded thoughtfully. Panshan Island, an ancient water lake, could not be treated with common sense. It was too strange. Creak! Suddenly, the ironwood ship shook violently, as if it had been brushed by something. Dang, dang, dang. A martial artist of the Chu clan rushed in. "Clan head, 3 demon birds are approaching." The old man nodded. "Leave it to the 2 of them." Yi Chun and Chu Ming looked at each other and walked out of the cabin together. On the deck, Yi Chun looked up and saw 3 huge strange birds flying in the air. The strange birds had a wingspan of 5 meters, and the upper half of their wings had a pair of sharp claws. At this time, they had not yet approached the ironwood ship, but the wind caused by the flapping of their wings had caused the ironwood ship to shake. "Star finger, 7 stars of the Big Dipper." Chu Ming raised the index and middle fingers of his right hand, and at the end of his fingertips, a glazed brilliance appeared. He pointed 7 times in the air and drew the pattern of the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Poochie, 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 without any suspense. The 3 demon birds were shrouded by the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Several bloody holes appeared on their bodies, and they fell into the lake. Yi Chun smiled and said, "Good finger technique." "Insignificant skill." Chu Ming withdrew his hand. At this moment, a Chu family martial artist shouted, "We have arrived at the 9 bends and 18 bends. Everyone hold on to the fixed objects so as not to be thrown out of the deck." The voice fell, and in the blink of an eye, the hull of the ship suddenly swayed, and there was a tendency to capsize. The other Chu family martial artists were already prepared and firmly held onto the things that they could hold on to. Only Yi Chun and Chu Ming were indifferent. Their feet firmly stepped on the deck, and no matter how fiercely the ship shook, it was difficult to shake their bodies. Chu Ming's body was very flexible, and his balance was also very good. He seemed to be motionless, but in fact his body was secretly making subtle changes in the direction of the hull, and he could always take advantage of the situation. But when he looked at Yi Chun, his eyes could not help but narrow. Yi Chun stood with his hands behind his back, and his feet seemed to be rooted to the ground, swaying with the hull of the ship. It was as if he was a part of the hull, and there was no possibility of him being thrown out. What a brilliant qigong! Chu Ming's eyesight was very powerful, and he immediately saw that Yi Chun's attainments in qigong were very high, and his use of jinqi was far beyond that of ordinary martial artists. Yi Chun faintly smiled and was about to speak when he suddenly frowned and said, "There is a demon beast sneaking over from under the water." His figure jumped, and Yi Chen's body fell on the side of the ship's railing, and his fist with a shining blue light blasted down. Roar! The tiger's roar shook the sky, and the blue chi dragon swooped down, drilling into the bottom of the water. The next moment, the huge corpse of the demon beast floated up, and there was a bathtub-sized hole in its chest and abdomen, and blood was gurgling out. Chu Ming looked at the corpse of the demon beast and was surprised. The water shadow beast is good at hiding its demon chi and is proficient in stealth. How did you detect it? If it wasn't for Yi Chen's discovery, Chu Ming believed that it was impossible to kill the water shadow beast in advance. Only when the opponent launched an attack and exposed its demon chi would he be able to detect it. At that time, even if the Ironwood ship was undamaged, it would definitely deviate from the course, and it would take a lot of effort to return to the normal route, which would undoubtedly waste a lot of time. Yi Chen naturally wouldn't say that his soul power was strong, and that he could freely explore anything around him. So he casually made up a reason and said, although the water shadow beast is proficient in stealth, and its demon chi is restrained, but with its huge body, it is difficult to sneak over without a sound, and it will inevitably change the water flow. Chu Ming secretly nodded. What Yi Chen said was right. The bigger the body, the greater the resistance in the water. But Yi Chen's perception was too strong, and he could even see the subtle changes in the water flow, which was really admirable. As they gradually went deeper into the 9 twists and 18 turns, the frequency of the hull shaking became faster and faster. Sometimes it was clearly swaying to the left, but suddenly it jumped up, and sometimes it was clearly stable without any waves, but the whirlpool under the water made it difficult for the hull to move. From fast speed to a sudden stop, it could almost make an ordinary person's heart jump out. Finally, the Ironwood ship arrived in front of the half-submerged mountain. On the beach, a large ship was docked there, and it seemed to be faintly discernible in the thick fog, and there was a dead silence. The ship had not yet approached, but Chu Ming and Yi Chen's feet touched the deck, and like 2 big birds, they flew over at an incredible speed. Papa! The two stood on the deck of the lost ship, and felt that the atmosphere had changed. Xianing, are you there? Chu Ming called out. Whoosh! Whoosh! Except for the lake wind, there was no other sound. The two were afraid of missing something, so they pushed open the cabin door and went in. After a moment, the two came out again. Yi Chen looked up at the mountain and said to Chu Ming, maybe they went to the mountain to take refuge. Chu Ming nodded. That's the only possibility. Let's wait for Big Grandpa first. Chapter 99. The Ironwood boat docked, and the old man came over with 12 people. Chu Ming said, Grandpa, Xianing is not up there. Not up there. The old man's face changed. He turned to the Chu warriors and said, you 12 people, for people in a group, divide into 3 groups and go up the mountain. Yes, Lord. The 12 Chu warriors formed their own groups and went up the mountain from 3 directions. At this time, Yi Chen said, Lord Chu, you and Chu Ming in a group? I can go alone. That's it. The old man did not underestimate Yi Chen. Along the way, Yi Chen's strength was no less than Chu Ming, who was at the lake condensing reality realm. After they parted ways, Yi Chen followed the most remote path and flew up the mountain. On his way up the mountain, a poison water scorpion that loved water rushed towards him, but was easily smashed into pieces by his fist power. Liquid splashed everywhere, but he did not slow down at all. After a dozen breaths, he had disappeared into the depths of the mountain that was covered in thick fog. The fog silently parted, and a figure flashed like a ghost. Every time his feet touched the ground, he would slide dozens of meters away. His breath was long and pure. All of a sudden, the mountain near Yi Chen started to move. It was actually a giant rock beast with a rock-like outer shell. It opened its deep mouth, and an arm-thick red shadow flew out towards Yi Chen at lightning speed. Courting death. The hidden cloud sword was unsheathed, and the sharp sword light collided with the red shadow. Clang! The red shadow was cut open, and yellow-brown blood spurted out. Looking carefully, it turned out to be a 10-feet-long tongue. The root of the tongue was still in the mouth of the rock beast. It was like a frog sticking out its tongue. The beast wanted to use its tongue to roll Yi Chun into its mouth. It was really insidious. Missing its attack, the rock beast's body shrank back and squeezed into the mountain to avoid Yi Chun's counterattack. How could Yi Chun let it go? He stamped his foot on the ground and released his power. Bang! The rock beast was forcibly blown out. The sword Qi flashed, and the giant rock beast with an extremely high defense fell to the ground. Its abdomen was cut open, and its internal organs and intestines rolled out. The strong earthy smell was extremely pungent. Not interested in dissecting the corpse of the giant rock beast, Yi Chun didn't even look back as he flashed into the thick fog. The mountain peak wasn't big, so Yi Chun quickly arrived at the mountainside. The first thing that came into view was a stone bridge. Beneath the stone bridge, clouds and mist tumbled. It was unfathomably deep. On the other side of the stone bridge, there was a large flat ground. Behind the flat ground, there was a large stone door. It was 33 feet tall and 28 feet wide. The door was tightly shut, revealing only a small gap. Light shone out from inside, changing the color of the mist. There's someone inside. Yi Chun hesitated for a moment before stepping onto the stone bridge. Kalala! Inconceivably, the stone beasts on both sides of the stone bridge came to life. They broke free from the stone surface and rushed towards Yi Chun step by step. Mountain range stacking. Facing the many stone beasts, Yi Chun used the lone peak of 13 swords attack range, the mountain range stacking. With a wave of his sword, layers of sword light spread out. Cha-cha-cha, one by one, the stone beasts were chopped into pieces and scattered all over the ground. Just as he was about to leave, Yi Chun discovered an amazing scene. The broken pieces of the stone beasts twisted a few times, turned into mist, and blended into the surrounding environment, leaving no traces behind. Strange, this was really strange. Yi Chun's eyes flashed. No one knew what he was thinking. Moments later, Yi Chun took a deep breath, carried his sword, and rushed towards the stone door. The stone door was really thick. Yi Chun estimated that even if he could break it, it might cause the stone room inside to collapse. It was not a wise move. Gathering 20,000 pounds of strength in both of his arms, Yi Chun inserted both of his hands into the gap in the middle of the stone door and tried to pull it to both sides. Rumble. The stone door slowly opened, and a brightly lit hall appeared in front of Yi Chun. Compared to the outside, the hall inside was luxurious enough. On both sides of the hall, there were 18 gold-painted stone pillars. They were 26 meters tall, smooth, and without any carvings. In the middle of the hall, there was a red carpet which extended all the way to the main seat of the hall. A middle-aged man was sitting on a main seat. His eyes were slightly closed, and his aura was like a mountain. On both sides of the red carpet, there were 6 other middle-aged men. Although their auras were not as powerful as the middle-aged man, they were still not to be underestimated. They were at least at the peak of late condensing reality realm. Who are you? The middle-aged man on the main seat opened his eyes, which were shining like lightning. He was obviously a clasping Yuan realm warrior. Yi Chun cupped his fists and said, "I am here to look for someone. I wonder if you've seen a young girl coming here?" The middle-aged man on the main seat said lightly, "Come in and have a seat." Yes. Yi Chun felt that something was wrong, but he could not tell what it was. He followed the order and sat on the last seat on the right side of the red carpet. An evil look flashed through his eyes. The middle-aged man waved his hand at the stone door, and the stone door slowly closed. "The young girl you were talking about is 15 or 16 years old and clean?" Yi Chun had already learned about his granddaughter's appearance and temperament from the elder. He nodded and said, "Indeed. Have you seen her before?" "Yes. She was trapped at the foot of the mountain. I saved her. She is now in the side room. You can take her and leave now." The middle-aged man seemed to be easy to talk to. With a suspicious look in his eyes, Yi Chun asked to confirm, "I can take her and leave?" "What? You don't want to take her?" "Oh no." Yi Chun stood up and walked towards the side room of the hall unhurriedly. He pushed his soul power to its limit, just in case something unexpected happened. However, things were very strange. Not only did the middle-aged man on the main seat not move, even the other 6 middle-aged men on the side seemed to have their acupuncture points sealed. They sat there without moving or talking. There was only some meat on the table, which had not been eaten at all. A strange atmosphere filled the whole hall. When he reached the door of the side room, Yi-chan suddenly turned around and looked at the middle-aged man. The evil look in the middle-aged man's eyes quickly disappeared. He asked, "What now?" "Nothing, I just think it's funny." Yi-chan pulled out his sword and sneered. "Huh." The middle-aged man said with a gloomy face, "I have already given you enough face by letting you take the young girl away. Do you want to fight me? You are only a condensing reality realm warrior. I can easily kill you." Yi-chan said with a faint smile. "Really? If you can kill me, why would you lie to me? If I am not wrong, once you enter the side room, you will die." "How dare you? Get the hell in here." The middle-aged man waved his hand, and a golden stone pillar fell from ground. Without any hesitation, it shot towards Yi-chan, who was not far away. It created a thunderous sound in the air, which was unstoppable. After all, this stone pillar was 66 feet long and half a meter thick. With the help of a clasping Yuan realm warrior Jinchi, it was more powerful than any weapon. It could easily pierce through a mountain and kill a late condensing reality realm warrior. At this moment, if it was an ordinary warrior, he would definitely retreat into the side room to avoid the attack of the stone pillar. However, Yi-chan was not one of them. His eyes were clear, and he did not intend to dodge at all. He held the hidden cloud sword in his right hand and pointed it at the terrifying stone pillar. Crack! The stone pillar shattered into pieces, turning into mist and dissipating.